Chapter 1624. Reality also proved the guesses of everyone. For the top 10 rankers, other than D. Tian, although the others all received rewards, none of them received the treatment D. Tian received. The Realm Lord personally asked him what reward he wanted. Even Xianyuan Tian Gang didn't receive such treatment. What sort of character was the Realm Lord? He was the overlord of the lifelong realm, a character that stood at the peak. He himself was a supreme character and had seen all sorts of geniuses before. So what if the Realm Lord was a supreme immortal emperor? It was already a great honor to be rewarded by him. There were definitely not many people who could gain the admiration of the Realm Lord. This D. Tian suppressed everyone with his cultivation base at the mid-stage of the Immortal Emperor realm and was also a Grandmaster weaponsmith. No wonder the Realm Lord treated him differently. If they didn't use such a genius, who else could they use? After this battle, D. Tian's name would surely circulate through Lifelong City. In fact, it might even spread to the capital cities of the 9 world palaces. This was especially so for Lifefire City. They would definitely receive this news and there would surely be a huge commotion. After receiving the rewards, everyone returned to their positions. D. Tian returned to the crowd of the Jialan clan. Jialan Chuyue giggled when she saw him returning. Grandmaster D, you have truly concealed yourself deeply. She deliberately emphasized the word, Great Master. Her bright eyes contained a smile, tender and amiable, very moving. I've never hidden anything. D. Tian laughed and sat down. Jialan Yintian didn't feel as excited as he imagined. His heart was pounding but there was still a smile in his eyes. Grandmaster D, after this battle, the Emperor Pavilion will soar up into the heavens. In the future, if you need the Jialan clan for anything, feel free to speak. Before this, the Jialan clan wanted to control D. Tian. But now, they clearly no longer had such thoughts. Right now, there was no one who could control D. Tian. The lifelong Realm Lord has personally spoken, even the Lifefire Empyrean can forget about doing anything to him. In that case, we might have to trouble the Jialan clan in the future. D. Tian naturally understood the meaning behind Jialan Yintian's words. He could also sense the change in Jialan Yintian's attitude but he still maintained his composure as though he didn't know anything. Don't worry about it. My Jialan clan is friends with Grandmaster Qin. In addition, there's also that last Qiu Yu. Jialan Yintian laughed. His words caused Jialan Qiuyue's beautiful eyes to flash. She glared at Jialan Yintian. Grandmaster, what nonsense are you talking about? Is that so? Who was the one who stood up in excitement earlier? A certain someone here is a mid-stage female immortal emperor and is the golden daughter of my Tian. She is a disgrace. Jialan Yintian laughed. Jialan Qiuyue blushed, exuding an alluring charm. She who was originally already extremely beautiful was now even more charming. She even pretended to be angry as she glared at Jialan Yintian. D. Tian smiled. This Jialan Yintian was trying to lean on him, clearly using Jialan Qiuyue to make a fuss. His intentions were clear even without saying. This seat is extremely gratified to see the glory of the immortal emperors of my lifelong realm. Everyone, let's have a toast. D. and Tian Tian, of the Tian of them. D. the saint, the Tian of the Realm Lord, the Tian Abel, the laughed. Tian. An elder smiled. He was the leader of a major power, an existence on the same level as the Empyrean, a half-step world overlord. That's right. If everyone participated in the battle, it would be even more exciting, someone added. If that's the case, I'm afraid only a few of the top 10 of the martial arts tournament will be able to stay. Everyone casually laughed and chatted. Everyone naturally knew what they were referring to. In the earlier battle, there were many immortal emperors who didn't participate. In addition, many of them were Empyrean-level immortal emperors. Those immortal emperors under the lifelong Realm Lord didn't participate. Seems like you guys are impatient to see their strength. The lifelong Realm Lord laughed. Those people nodded. Someone spoke, Realm Lord, if they fight, it would surely be even more fascinating, right? This has been the case in the past. Realm Lord, please let us broaden our horizons as soon as possible. Sure. The lifelong Realm Lord smiled and nodded. My lifelong realm governs a vast and boundless territory. Other than Lifelong City, the other territories are managed by the 9 world palaces. The various monarchs of the 9 world palaces will guard the territories for me. This is the reason why the lifelong realm is so prosperous. I will only gather everyone once every 100 years on this day. Let's take this opportunity to see how strong everyone is. Does any of the palace lords have any objections? The 9 world palace lords spoke at the same time. We obey palace lord's order. Although you guys already have a very good understanding of your subordinates, you can also see the disparity in strength between the various world palaces. You can then urge your world palaces to grow stronger and better guard the territories for me. The lifelong Realm Lord continued. Come, the governors and monarchs of the 9 world palaces, prepare yourselves. Let me see the glory of the heroes of our lifelong realm. Yes, Realm Lord. Many people called out loudly. To those powerful characters, they knew that this was their chance to perform. If they could leave a good impression in front of the Realm Lord, it would be extremely meaningful to them in the future. As for those weaker characters, they felt some trepidation. After all, the experts under the 9 world palace lords were as many as the clouds. This wasn't the first time they experienced this. If they were the slightest bit careless, they would surely lose face. I'm sure everyone knows the rules. The 9 world palace lords will be in charge of the battles. Let's begin. The lifelong Realm Lord calmly spoke. After that, the 9 world palace lords glanced at each other as their eyes gleamed with sharpness. This time around, this was a competition between the subordinates of the 9 world palaces. The 9 world palace lords naturally didn't wish for their subordinates to lose face in front of the lifelong Realm Lord. Tian quietly sat there. He saw an expert from each of the world palaces standing up. After that, 9 figures soared through the air, flying towards the towering platform in the center where he fought earlier. The 9 of them would form a group. Between them, there would be many clashes before the victor would be determined. The person who walked out from the Lifefire Palace was none other than the Jelon Monarch. Does he want to give up on the first battle? Tian's eyes flashed. Although the Jelon Monarch was a supreme immortal emperor and could fight against peak-stage immortal emperors when he was only at the mid-stage, the other immortal emperors of the 9 world palaces weren't ordinary either. Their cultivation bases were all at the peak stage of the immortal emperor realm and their combat prowess was extraordinary. The Jelon Monarch was at an absolute disadvantage in terms of cultivation base. Desolate Heaven Palace, Governor Mo Kaishan. Xianyuan Palace, Monarch Xianyuan Yu. Everyone reported their names and origins. All 9 of them did so without exception. After that, they each stood in their own positions and started to take turns to battle. For the first battle, Governor Mo Kaishan of the Desolate Heaven City challenged the Jelon Monarch, wanting to take advantage of the Jelon Monarch's lower cultivation base. Although the Jelon Monarch was strong, he was still suppressed by Mo Kaishan and was directly defeated. For the second battle, Xianyuan Yu also challenged the Jelon Monarch. This caused everyone to be stunned. Seems like the Jelon Monarch was a mid-stage immortal emperor who was easy to bully. The ending was naturally Xianyuan Yu's victory. For the next battle, everyone was speechless to discover that everyone challenged the Jelon Monarch. This caused the people of the Jelon clan to feel extremely humiliated. The Lifefire Empyrean's countenance was also extremely unsightly. The immortal emperors of the other world palaces didn't give his Lifefire Palace any face at all. For this battle, he sent the Jialan Monarch up precisely because he wanted the Jialan Monarch to lose face and forfeit this battle. However, he didn't expect that his face would be smacked like this. Right now, not only did the Jialan Monarch lose face, the Lifefire Empyrean also felt that his face had been smacked. The battles of the various experts all stopped when the victor was determined. They didn't injure the Jialan Monarch. The rules also allowed them to challenge the same person consecutively. Hence, the final ending was that the Jialan Monarch lost all 8 battles and was directly eliminated, locking in at the bottom of the rankings. Even so, he had no choice but to stand at the edge of the platform and watch the battles of the others. The lifelong Realm Lord glanced in the direction of the Jialan clan, but he shifted his gaze away an instant later. The battles continued. These chaotic battles were naturally extremely fascinating. This was especially so for the transcendent-level immortal emperors from the Desolate Heaven Palace, Xianyuan Palace and Sky Air Palace. Their battles were simply heaven-shaking and their might was comparable to the top 3 rankers in the martial competition earlier. Finally, Mo Kaishan of the Desolate Heaven Palace won all 8 battles and was ranked number 1. The Supreme Immortal Emperor of the Sky Air Palace won 7 battles and was ranked number 2. The Supreme Immortal Emperor of the Xianyuan Palace won 6 battles and was ranked number 3. The Lifefire Palace was ranked at the bottom. From the first battle, Di Tian could already faintly see some clues. The strength of a world palace wasn't merely determined by the palace lords, it was also determined by the subordinates of the palace lords. This was the first round of the battle. After the 9 experts returned to their respective positions, another 9 experts from the 9 world palaces stepped onto the battle platform, starting the second round of the battle. Similarly, the ranking of the 9 world palaces would also be determined in this round. In the end, the results of the battles of the 9 world palaces would be stacked together to determine the ranking of the 9 world palaces in the martial competition. The second round of battles was also extremely fascinating and violent. Di Tian didn't recognize the experts from the other world palaces, but the Lifefire City sent out the central governor Xia Ho. Although Xia Ho was tyrannical and arrogant, his combat prowess was also very powerful. He was a transcendent-level immortal emperor, but even so, he only managed to obtain 4 victories and 4 defeats for the Lifefire Palace and was ranked number 5. Although it couldn't be considered very glorious, it wasn't embarrassing either. For the second round of battles, the Sky Air Palace won a city and was ranked number 1 with 8 consecutive victories. The battles were still extremely intense. As the battles continued, the spectators also entered a state of mind, spectating the fascinating battles. Many people chatted as they watched, discussing the situation. This time around, the Lifefire Palace is in for it. Most probably, it would be hard for them to obtain the number 1 ranking again. Jialan Chuyue spoke in a low voice. It was very difficult to obtain the number 1 ranking. They had to have a supreme immortal emperor that could dominate the battlefield. However, the Lifefire Palace didn't have such a character. This is also normal. The Desolate Heaven Palace, Sky Air Palace, Xianyuan Palace, which of the world palaces aren't extremely powerful? The immortal emperors of their world palaces are naturally extremely powerful as well. If the Lifefire Palace wants to defeat the people from the other world palaces and obtain the number 1 ranking, it might sound simple, but in truth, it's as difficult as ascending the heavens. The Lifefire Palace doesn't have a single palace lord or monarch with such capabilities. Jialan Yuntian spoke. That person who didn't come, can he do it? Jialan Chuyue suddenly thought of that arrogant and handsome face as she asked. Chapter 1625. Jialan Yuntian naturally knew who Jialan Chuyue was referring to. In truth, they brought Yi Qianyu here from the Lifefire Palace precisely because of that person. Although the Lifefire Palace wanted to conceal the news of Yi Qianyu, it was impossible to do so. After these people returned to Lifefire City, the news would surely be circulated to that person's ears. Zhelan Yuntian naturally knew how strong that person who was stopped by Lifefire City was. He was only at the mid-stage of the Immortal Emperor realm, yet he managed to kill so many Immortal Emperors at the ancient river auction house, including several peak-stage Immortal Emperors. This caused a huge commotion in Lifefire City, exuding boundless magnificence. Given his talent, even in such a battlefield, he should still be able to fight. Zhelan Yuntian couldn't help but to compare Di Tian with that governor. Di Tian was a peak-stage weaponsmith grandmaster, his combat prowess was also at the peak. It seemed that he was even more outstanding compared to that governor. Even that person wouldn't be able to do this. Back then at the ancient river auction house, even if there were peak-stage immortal emperors among them, they were still ordinary ones. What sort of existences are these people? They are all supreme emperors from the 9 world palaces, each of them has peak-stage combat prowess. Xia Ho is the central governor, how strong is he? However, in that battle, he only managed to obtain the 5th ranking. From this, one can very well imagine how terrifying this battlefield is. Zhelan Yuntian spoke in a low voice. The battle between the 9 world palaces was much more intense compared to the martial competition earlier. All of them were elites. Big brother, who are you guys talking about? Zhelan Yunhai, who was at the side, laughed. A governor under the Lifefire Empyrean. He captured the daughter of the Night Empyrean and imprisoned her in the Lifefire jail because he wanted to control that governor to deal with us. This time around, we brought Yi Qianyu to Lifelong City because we want to create a rift between them. Zhelan Yuntian transmitted his voiceover. So it's because of a governor. Is he really so powerful? Zhelan Yunhai curiously asked. Lifefire City already had a Grandmaster D, how could a governor be so powerful as well? Very powerful. He is also a mid-stage Immortal Emperor and killed over 10 Immortal Emperors in a single battle. All of them were mid-stage or peak-stage Immortal Emperors. As for how strong he is exactly, we have no idea. He basically didn't unleash his true strength. Interesting. Zhelan Yunhai laughed. In the competition between the 9 world palaces, which world palace do you think will have the best ranking? If there are no unexpected accidents, the Desolate Heaven Palace's overall ranking should be the best. After all, they have been the best for 300 years now. Zhelan Yuntian spoke in a low voice. That's right. The Desolate Heaven Palace is simply too powerful. It's one thing for the Palace Lord to be powerful, but he's also extremely strict with his subordinates. The people he selects to be commanders and emperors have to be the strongest in terms of combat power. He personally selects them, and if someone stronger than them appears, they can replace them at any time. Under such competition, the commanders and emperors under him are all the strongest. However, that disciple of the Realm Lord seems to be unwilling to accept this. This time around, he came prepared and seems to be targeting the Desolate Heaven Palace. Zhelan Yunhai laughed. The Sky Air Palace's performance this time around is truly eye-catching. The Xianyuan Palace isn't weak either. The Gemini Palace and Dragon Saddle Palace aren't here to play around. Look at the commanders and monarchs they sent out, all of them are very powerful. Seems like the Lifefire Palace, Kungbutter Palace and Zhengmetal Palace are going to be ranked last again. Zhelan Yuntian laughed. The foundations of these 3 world palaces had always been the weakest. The positions of their palace lords weren't that stable. Their Zhelan clan has always been eyeing the position of the Lifefire Empyrean. However, they didn't even dare to think about the Desolate Heaven Palace and Sky Air Palace. Even for the Dragon Saddle Palace, Gemini Palace and Scarlet Origin Palace, they didn't dare to think about it. The battles continued, round after round, extremely intense. For the competition between the 9 world palaces, each world palace would choose 14 people to participate. Without exception, all of them were governors and monarchs. Hence, there were a total of 14 rounds of battles. When the battles reached the 9th round, the desolate Heaven Palace had already obtained 3 first rankers, 2 second rankers, 1 third ranker, 1 fourth ranker and 1 fifth ranker. Such a terrifying ranking undoubtedly indicated that the desolate Heaven Palace was the strongest among the 9 world palaces. Next was the Sky Air Palace, followed by the Xianyuan Palace, Gemini Palace and Dragon Saddle Palace. The Sky Air Palace obtained 2 first rankers, the Xianyuan Palace, Gemini Palace and Dragon Saddle Palace each obtained 1. The other 4 world palaces didn't manage to obtain a single first ranker. For the 9th round of battles, it seemed that they still didn't have much hope. The Li-Fire Empyrean's expression was extremely heavy and unsightly to behold. Although he knew that the situation wasn't optimistic for the 9 world palaces, he didn't expect it to be so miserable. In such a situation, with the Realm Lord watching from above, how could he smile? He could only maintain a heavy expression. In addition, Di Tian's dazzling performance earlier, obtaining the first ranker with a mid-stage Immortal Emperor cultivation. It would be strange if the Li-Fire Empyrean was in a good mood. Zhuge Xiong, go out for the next battle and see if you can obtain the first ranker. The Li-Fire Empyrean spoke in a low voice to the Grand Governor beside him. As the Grand Governor of the Li-Fire City, Zhuge Xiong's strength was naturally extremely powerful. Your subordinate will definitely do his best. Zhuge Xiong replied. The Li-Fire Empyrean nodded, glancing at the Realm Lord. The Realm Lord's expression didn't change at all. He still had a faint smile on his face as he watched the battles of his subordinates. The battle between the 9 world palaces could be considered a military parade for the lifelong realm. It was much more important compared to the martial competition earlier. These people were all his subordinates. The 9 world palaces of the lifelong realm and their subordinates were all his subordinates. For the 9th round of battles, the first ranker was the Gemini Palace. The governor that walked out from the Gemini Palace was extremely powerful. Right now, the Gemini Palace obtained 2 first rankers, equal to the Sky Air Palace. This caused many to feel surprised. After 9 people came down, another 9 went up. For the Li-Fire Empyrean side, Zhuge Xiong stepped out. The reason why the Li-Fire Empyrean arranged for Zhuge Xiong to fight at the end was because he wanted to catch his opponents off guard. The other world palaces were all doing their best to obtain the first ranker. For the 10th round, the characters they sent out should be weaker. However, he actually sent out his most powerful Grand Governor. But as the battles erupted, the Li-Fire Empyrean's expression swiftly changed. Evidently, for the other 4 world palaces that didn't obtain the first ranker, 3 of them sent out powerful characters with the same thoughts, wanting to obtain the first ranker. Finally, Zhuge Xiong was defeated by a supreme immortal emperor from the Scarlet Origin Palace. That immortal emperor was extremely powerful, he was the strongest character in the Scarlet Origin Palace. And as expected, the first ranker of the 10th round was obtained by the Scarlet Origin Palace. Right now, only the Li-Fire Palace, Kongvutter Palace and Zhengmetal Palace were left. The expressions of the 3 palace lords were all extremely unsightly. There were a total of 4 rounds of battles left. If they couldn't obtain the first ranker in the 14 rounds, it would be extremely embarrassing no matter how they looked at it. As long as they obtained the first ranker, they would be able to maintain some face. Zhuge Xiong walked down the platform and came to the side of the Li-Fire Empyrean. He bowed, your subordinate has failed Palace Lord's expectations. The Li-Fire Empyrean waved his hands, you can't be blamed. Just sit down. Zhuge Xiong nodded but he still felt somewhat dispirited. He was actually defeated. This time around, he was aiming for the first ranker. Palace Lord. The 2 beauties beside the Li-Fire Empyrean, the Purple Moon Immortal Emperor, also stared at him with a frown. From now on, it would be extremely difficult for the Li-Fire Palace to obtain the first ranker. Yin Qiu, you can go. The Li-Fire Empyrean waved his hand. For the 11th round, Yin Xiu only obtained the 6th rank, a very poor ranking. As for the first ranker, it was already taken by the Kumbutter Palace. The Li-Fire Empyrean glanced at the Kumbutter Palace Lord. The gloominess on the Kumbutter Empyrean's face instantly vanished as a radiant smile appeared on his face. He was currently happily welcoming his subordinates back in victory. They finally obtained the first ranker. The expressions of the Li-Fire Empyrean and Zhengmetal Empyrean grew increasingly unsightly. Only their 2 world palaces remained. The 12th and 13th round of battles continued. The Li-Fire Empyrean sent out 2 powerful monarchs, but without exception, both of them returned in defeat. What made the Li-Fire Empyrean even more embarrassed was that in the 13th round, the Zhengmetal Palace obtained the first ranker. Right now, among the 9 world palaces, only his Li-Fire Palace didn't obtain the first ranker. As for the final round, as the climax of the grand show, those powerful world palaces would definitely fight for it. Hence, they would definitely send out a powerful character to battle. Even the Li-Fire Empyrean himself understood that the Li-Fire Palace had no hope at all. The Li-Fire Empyrean could already sense that many people were looking at him with pity in their eyes, as well as a few hints of mockery. This was especially so for those world palace lords, they didn't even bother to mask the mockery in their eyes. Yi Kong, do your best to win this battle. The Sky Air Empyrean calmly spoke. You only have a few opponents. After all, some of them are just here to make up the numbers. As the sound of his voice faded, the Li-Fire Empyrean's expression grew even uglier to the extreme. But facing the Sky Air Empyrean, he had no way to retort. Yi Kong is going to fight. 100 years ago, he was already an extremely dazzling character. The Li-Fire Palace is truly just here to make up the numbers. A peak power spoke in a low voice. I remember that in the previous batch, the Li-Fire Palace didn't manage to obtain the first ranker. Who would have thought that it would be the same this time around? Jelan Jiangshan from the Jelan clan mocked. The Li-Fire Empyrean's eyes turned sinister. In the direction of the 9 world palaces, numerous figures flew towards the central platform. These figures all exuded a transcendent aura. Not only did the Sky Air Empyrean send out Yi Kong, the Desolate Heaven Palace and Xianyuan Palace also sent out their peak characters. The Li-Fire Empyrean glanced at Beauty Xiao, who hasn't fought yet. He sighed helplessly in his heart as he spoke in a low voice, Beauty Xiao, go ahead. Yes, Palace Lord. Beauty Xiao bowed slightly as she smiled. She didn't really care about making up the numbers. Being able to fight against the peak characters of the 9 world palaces was also a form of experience. Many people glanced at Beauty Xiao. Someone laughed, is the Li-Fire Empyrean planning to use a honey trap to get the first ranker? Haha. Many people laughed, their gazes roaming up and down Beauty Xiao's alluring figure. Beauty Xiao's expression also changed. She snorted lightly but didn't say anything and continued moving forward. Beauty Xiao, wait a minute. At this moment, a voice rang out, causing Beauty Xiao to pause in her steps. Her beautiful eyes turned over and stared at the person who spoke. After that, her beautiful eyes flashed with an extremely mesmerizing light. This fellow actually came. Qin Wentian could see the coldness in the Li-Fire Empyrean's eyes. He naturally understood that ever since the Li-Fire Empyrean imprisoned Yi Qianyu to control him, it was already destined that the Li-Fire Empyrean was only making use of him. Right now, Yi Qianyu appeared in Lifelong City. If the Li-Fire Empyrean had no way to control Qin Wentian through Yi Qianyu, he would definitely be worried that Qin Wentian would cause trouble. In addition, this place was the grand banquet in Lifelong City and the Realm Lord was there. If Qin Wentian was too outstanding and attracted the attention of the Realm Lord like Di Tian, it would be even harder for the Li-Fire Empyrean to control him. The Li-Fire Empyrean clearly didn't want to see Qin Wentian breaking free from his control. Reporting to Palace Lord, the matters in Lifefire City have already been settled. I heard that in Lifelong City, the Realm Lord personally organized a grand banquet to welcome the heroes of the 9 world palaces and the Lifelong Realm. My heart was filled with admiration and I came here to take a look. I hope Palace Lord can forgive me. Qin Wentian bowed slightly, appearing extremely humble. After that, he continued, I didn't expect that after coming here, I would see people from the other world palaces bullying my Lifefire Palace. Qin Wentian beseeches Palace Lord to allow Beauty Xiao to come down. This subordinate wishes to participate in this battle. Qin Wentian spoke. A moment later, everyone knew of his identity. So it turned out that he was a governor of the Lifefire Palace and wanted to participate in this battle. However, he was just a mid-stage Immortal Emperor governor. What could he do? The eyes of the experts on the central platform flashed with mockery. Qin Wentian simply didn't know what was good for him. As expected of the Lifefire Palace. Nonsense. You are just a mid-stage Immortal Emperor, what are you trying to do? Come over and sit down. Leave this battle to Beauty Xiao. The Lifefire Empyrean berated. Clearly, he didn't want Qin Wentian to participate in this battle. Although this subordinate isn't talented, I can't allow these people to humiliate my Lifefire Palace. Qin Wentian once again requests to participate in this battle. I hope Palace Lord can grant my request. Qin Wentian spoke. Lifefire Empyrean, this subordinate of yours is truly interesting. The Sky Air Empyrean calmly spoke. Are all the governors of the Lifefire Palace so weak? In the earlier battles, the Lifefire Palace only managed to obtain the battle result of number 2. Right now, a mid-stage Immortal Emperor actually stood out. It's like they can't do anything without him. How laughable. Another person mocked. Most probably, the Lifefire Palace truly has no more people to send out. On the towering platform, the people from the various world palaces were all extremely unhappy that Qin Wentian interrupted the last round of battles. I once challenged 4 governors in the northern city regions of Lifelong City and won all 4 battles. Although there weren't any governors from Lifelong City participating in the 9 world palaces battle, everyone should ask yourselves if you can win against the governors from Lifelong City. How dare you be so arrogant and look down on others? So what if you are a mid-stage Immortal Emperor? Have you all forgotten about the cultivation base of the top ranker in the martial competition earlier? Qin Wentian flicked his sleeves as he arrogantly spoke. In an instant, the eyes of many gleamed with sharpness. The voices of discussion grew louder and louder, gradually turning into an uproar. He is that mysterious young man who challenged the 4 governors in the northern city regions. This man even defeated Governor Xiao Yu before. He's extremely powerful, I personally witnessed that battle. Numerous voices rang out, causing the gazes of everyone to turn to Xiao Yu. Even the eyes of the people from the Lifefire Palace gleamed with sharpness as they stared at Qin Wentian in shock. This fellow actually came to Lifelong City before this and consecutively challenged 4 governors, including the genius Governor Xiao Yu. Xiao Yu's expression was extremely unsightly. Numerous gazes turned to him, causing him to clench his fists tightly, feeling extremely ashamed. Do you dare to fight again? Xiao Yu's gaze penetrated through the void, staring at Qin Wentian. His eyes were extremely terrifying as he stood up. This voice undoubtedly confirmed that the mysterious expert who defeated the 4 governors of the northern domain was none other than the person in front of him. What was even more shocking was that this young man was actually just a governor of the Lifefire Palace, a mid-stage Immortal Emperor. Such an expert, why didn't the Lifefire Empyrean allow him to fight? How can it be him? Jelan Chuyue's beautiful eyes flashed. Not long ago, Di Tian obtained first place in the martial competition. At that time, she felt that there was no way for Qin Wentian to compare with Di Tian. Di Tian was a Grandmaster Weaponsmith, the top ranker in the martial competition. Also, he was only a mid-stage Immortal Emperor. However, Qin Wentian appeared and he had another identity. He was the mysterious young man who defeated the 4 governors, including Xiao Yu. Before this, they had even discussed this matter. That mysterious young man was none other than the arrogant and loathsome Lifeire Empyrean. Zhelan Yintian's expression also changed, feeling extremely shocked. Not only did he greatly underestimate Di Tian, he also seemed to have underestimated Qin Wentian. Bastard! The Lifeire Empyrean cursed in his heart. While he was shocked by Qin Wentian's strength, he also felt something strange. This Qin Wentian seemed to have long since made preparations. He would definitely appear before the Realm Lord today and perform well. If not, the northern city regions wouldn't have challenged Xiao Yu and the other 3 governors. He could already sense that this Qin Wentian was gradually walking out of his control. Xia Ho, Yin Qiu, the Zhelan Monarch and the others all had ugly expressions on their faces. None of them had a favorable impression of Qin Wentian. In fact, there was even some conflict between them. Only Beauty Xiao was happy. When she heard this news, her gaze when she looked at Qin Wentian grew brighter. This fellow actually defeated the 4 governors of Lifelong City before. There's no need to continue fighting. If I have offended you in any way, I hope that Governor Xiao won't take offense. Qin Wentian calmly spoke to Xiao Yu, his words causing Xiao Yu's expression to turn even more unsightly. Palace Lord, Qin Wentian requests to fight. Qin Wentian bowed to the Lifeire Empyrean. The Lifeire Empyrean glanced at everyone. He could see the lifelong Realm Lord's gaze landing on him. He understood in his heart that in such a situation, he had no choice but to allow Qin Wentian to fight. It would be illogical. Qin Wentian, seems like your strength has improved again. Since this is the case, you can go. The Lifeire Empyrean's expression turned warm as he smiled. Since he has already made his decision, he might as well be more direct. Many thanks Palace Lord. Your subordinate will naturally do his best for the Lifeire Palace. After speaking, Qin Wentian's silhouette flashed as he flew towards the central platform. When he passed by Beauty Xiao's beautiful eyes stared straight at him as she transmitted her voice, "You are truly audacious." Qin Wentian didn't reply, he simply walked past her. This time around, he went against the Lifeire Empyrean's orders and came to Lifelong City privately. The Lifeire Empyrean would definitely be unhappy in his heart. In addition, he had lost Yi Qianyu and had no way to control him like before. In that case, no one knew what attitude the Lifeire Empyrean would have towards him. But now that he personally saw Yi Qianyu appearing here, he knew that he had to take a risk. Although he had made some preparations before this, in truth, he had always been acting according to the situation. The Lifeire Palace suffered a crushing defeat. Stepping out now was already considered the best opportunity. When Qin Wentian appeared, the other supreme emperors from the other 8 world palaces all turned their gazes to him. Although they naturally felt some contempt for him because of his cultivation base, but after they heard that he defeated Xiao Yu, they couldn't help but to take him seriously. It was just that they were all cursing silently in their hearts. Before this, there was already a demon-level character at the mid-stage of the Immortal Emperor realm. And now, there was another one who appeared in the competition between the 9 world palaces. Also, both of them originated from Lifeire City. What was going on with Lifeire City? In a remote corner, a group of maidens stood there. Yi Qianyu was among them, radiating radiance and beauty. She simply stared at that figure. Is it him? Someone beside Yi Qianyu asked in a light voice. Him, it's him. Yi Qianyu nodded. The maidens from the Red Dust Immortal Palace all turned their gazes to Qin Wentian. Was it this young man who caused Yi Qianyu to be trapped in the Lifeire jail? They also wanted to see what his talent was like. What sort of person is he? Someone asked. Yi Qianyu blinked her beautiful eyes before she smiled. I thought he had changed. Who would have thought that he is still as foolish as before? Chapter 1627. On the central platform, 9 figures could be seen. Each of them were peak-level immortal emperors. This was the final battle, the climax. The desolate Heaven Palace, Sky-Air Palace and the other powerful world palaces were all determined to win, hoping for a perfect ending. Hence, the lineup for this battle definitely wouldn't be any weaker compared to the first battle. In this battle, no one needed to fight against the other 8, using their battle records to determine their ranking. This meant that there was no chance of luck. Everyone had to continue fighting until the very end. The 9 of them reported their positions and names. Qin Wentian, the northern governor of the Li-Fire Palace. Very swiftly, everyone clearly knew who he was and where he came from. This mysterious expert who caused a huge commotion in Lifelong City was from the northern city regions of the Li-Fire Palace. In addition, the northern governor of the Li-Fire Palace actually defeated the number 1 governor of the northern city regions, Xiao Yu. This sounded like a mockery to him. Lifelong City was directly governed by the Lifelong Saint Hall. The governors under them were all absolute elites and didn't even participate in the battles between the 9 world palaces. It was understandable that the weakest governor of Lifelong City was weaker than the 9 world palaces. However, Xiao Yu was the number 1 governor of the northern city regions. He couldn't even be compared to the Li-Fire Palace's governor who had lost all face earlier. Was it because Lifelong City's governor Xiao Yu was too weak, or was this Li-Fire governor Qin Wentian too demon level? Most probably, they would soon be able to see the true strength of this mysterious governor. Since Governor Qin of the Li-Fire Palace has such glorious battle records in Lifelong City, let me seek guidance from you first. At this moment, a voice rang out. A monarch from the Zhengmetal Palace issued a challenge to Qin Wentian. Each of them had to fight against all of their opponents. Since this was the case, he was extremely curious about Qin Wentian's strength. He might as well fight against Qin Wentian first and see what capabilities this governor of Li-Fire City has exactly. Please guide me. Qin Wentian calmly spoke. The other 7 temporarily retreated, opening up the battlefield for the monarch of the Zhengmetal Palace. A supremely powerful metal attribute law energy gushed forth from him. Resplendent golden light radiated from him, capable of penetrating through everything. In the air, resplendent astral light cascaded downwards, landing on his opponent. At this moment, a layer of golden clouds appeared in the air, radiating resplendent multicolored light. Each strand of multicolored light was like a golden spear, directly piercing through space, shooting towards Qin Wentian. Upon sensing that terrifying fusion energy, Qin Wentian's body radiated an incomparably resplendent light. The golden light radiating from him was even more dazzling compared to the sunlight. Every beam of light transformed into a sword of light, causing the spectators to feel as though they couldn't look directly at it. The golden light and the light of light intersected. Bit by bit, they were destroyed and dissipated. When the endless light shone into the void, it descended upon the golden clouds. In an instant, the clouds dispersed, and the golden light quickly disappeared without a trace. Under the radiance of light, no other energy could exist. Under the illumination of the light, Qin Wentian was like a god of light. His entire being seemed flawless. He stepped out and punched out, manifesting boundless radiance that transformed into a radiance divine fist that directly blasted towards the monarch from the Zhengmetal Palace. The monarch from the Zhengmetal Palace gathered his powerful fist might and blasted out. The golden fist light tore through space, leaving behind a series of golden fist shadows that collided with the radiance divine fist. Qin Wentian's attack had only just begun. He stepped forward step by step, and with every step he took, the pressure he exuded would grow stronger. That terrifying will of his could cause others to collapse. His radiance divine fist was no longer a single punch. Instead, it was a boundless fist light that pierced through the heavens and earth. He was like a god that ruled over everything, illuminating the world with his radiance. The monarch from the Metal Palace unleashed a terrifying aura. Numerous resplendent golden shadows appeared behind him. They blasted out fist light and palm imprints together, gathering supreme energy. There was even a fearsome golden ancient shield that revolved in front of him, blocking the attacks. However, the radiance was all-pervasive. Qin Wenqian's attacks even curved forward, bypassing the defense and blasting towards the monarch's body. The monarch from the Metal Palace seemed to be gilded from head to toe. His body was forged from gold, and his defense was extremely strong. Numerous shadows appeared on his golden body, resembling an extremely powerful Dharma body. However, no matter how his opponent tried to resist, Qin Wenqian continued to use the Radiance Divine Fist. He blasted out punch after punch, seemingly boundless. Tens of thousands of techniques were neutralized with a single strike. How tyrannical was that? Under the radiance, the monarch from the Metal Palace didn't last for too long before he was forced back, defeated. The eyes of the spectators flickered. From the start to the end, Qin Wenqian only used a single attack, the Fist of Light. Just by relying on a single innate technique, he managed to defeat a supreme monarch. From this, one could very well imagine that he was able to defeat Xiaoyu. The countenances of the other 7 monarchs also turned heavy. Next, which two will fight? The governor of the Desolate Heaven Palace asked. There's no need to. Since we came here to fight for the number 1 position, we should win all 8 battles. Before this, there were also people who humiliated my Lifefire Palace. Since I'm here, if I don't fight for the number 1 position for my Lifefire Palace, it would be meaningless. Qin Wenqian's white robes fluttered in the wind as he calmly spoke. So, let's continue with the second round. Governor of the Kumbutter Palace, please guide me. As the sound of Qin Wenqian's voice faded, the gazes of everyone froze. The eyes of the other 7 monarchs all gleamed with sharpness. Qin Wenqian wanted to challenge them one by one, wanting to end this battle with a complete victory. Was he treating them as nothing? In the martial competition earlier, even that mid-stage Immortal Emperor Di Tian wasn't so arrogant, right? Were the mid-stage Empyrean emperors of the Desolate Heaven Palace all so arrogant? On the battle platform, there were still peak-stage demon emperors from the Desolate Heaven Palace, Empyreans from the Sky Air Palace, and supreme immortal emperors from the Shenyuan clan. However, all of them were disregarded by Qin Wenqian. He was prepared to continue fighting alone. The immortal emperor from the Kumbutter Palace was the first to be called out. He had a cold expression on his face as he stepped out. He was an extremely powerful monarch from the Kumbutter Palace and exuded an aura of supremacy. However, Qin Wenqian's gaze was incomparably cold when he looked at him, like he didn't care about him at all. I truly want to seek guidance from you. The eyes of this monarch from the Kumbutter Palace shot out a terrifying netherworld chi. Sizzling sounds rang out as the space around Qin Wenqian froze. Qin Wenqian's robes were instantly covered in a layer of white frost as a suffocating aura suddenly descended without any warning. Qin Wenqian's eyes gleamed with a terrifying light. In an instant, a pair of illusory eyes appeared in the air, manifesting a spatial domain. At this instant, the monarch from the Kumbutter Palace only felt himself entering a world of eye techniques. He could see numerous figures of Qin Wenqian floating in the air, radiating the power of light as they rushed towards him. The expression of the monarch from the Kumbutter Palace instantly turned ugly to behold. But he still continued to radiate a fearsome netherworld energy. In an instant, the heavens and earth froze as everything froze. Qin Wenqian's tens of thousands of illusory figures froze at the same time. This was the power of absolute frost. Qin Wenqian's body radiated a supremely powerful aura of the netherworld law. His entire person was like an emperor of the netherworld, unexcelled in the world. You have no hope. A voice rang out from the void. After that, the illusory figures of Qin Wenqian appeared once more. Radiance radiated forth, the frost shadow Qin Wenqian's shadow energy dissipated. Boundless radiance pierced through the ice, incomparably resplendent. Not only did Qin Wenqian's shadow not decrease, it actually increased in size. The monarch from the Kumbutter Palace knew that this was an illusion. He had entered Qin Wenqian's law domain, but even though he knew it was an illusion, he had no way to break it. In that case, the ending of this battle was already destined. He was actually trapped by the law domain of a mid-stage immortal emperor. Just admit defeat. Countless swords of light radiated forth, there was no way to tell which one was real or fake. The monarch from the Kumbutter Palace didn't know which sword of light would transform into a true sword of slaughter. He had been a supreme existence for a long time and was an Empyrean emperor. But right now, he felt somewhat dispirited. He shook his head, I've lost. The law domain dissipated. The monarch from the Kumbutter Palace stared ahead. Qin Wenqian stood there like he had never moved before. Yet, Qin Wenqian had trapped him. Reality or illusion? The monarch from the Kumbutter Palace asked. Reality is also an illusion, and illusions are also reality. Qin Wenqian replied. The monarch from the Kumbutter Palace nodded and retreated. The eyes of many people froze. This battle seemed to be even easier compared to the previous one. Qin Wenqian won 2 consecutive victories. Governor from the Scarlet Origin Palace, please guide me. Qin Wenqian continued. He challenged all of them, there was no need for him to rest at all. The Scarlet Origin Palace's governor walked out. At this moment, his gaze was much heavier when he faced Qin Wenqian. 2 world palaces were still defeated. Without a doubt, this already proved how strong Qin Wenqian was. How would he dare to be careless? The eyes of True Soul appeared once more. There was no way to defend against it unless one used a powerful law attack to break it apart. However, Qin Wenqian's astral souls were extremely powerful. Although he was only at the mid-stage of the Immortal Emperor realm, his law attributes were many times stronger compared to others. In addition to his comprehensions, how could his eye-technique domain be so easily broken? Hence, within the eye-technique domain, the Scarlet Origin Palace's governor suffered from Qin Wenqian's frenzied attacks. He didn't last long and was defeated once more. After that, the Dragon Saddle Palace, and the Gemini Palace. 5 world palaces were defeated consecutively by Qin Wenqian. After 5 consecutive victories, Qin Wenqian didn't stop at all. Although there were many people who obtained a battle record of 8 victories and 0 losses before, there had never been anyone like Qin Wenqian. He completely ignored the battles between others and wanted to use his own strength to defeat all 8 world palaces. Before this, many people felt that it was impossible. But as the battles continued and the 5 world palaces were defeated, everyone started to waver. Right now, only the Desolate Heaven Palace, Sky Air Palace and Xianyuan Palace remained before him. However, these were also the 3 strongest world palaces. If Qin Wenqian wanted to win consecutively like before, it wouldn't be so easy anymore, right? Chapter 1628. The World Palace lords and the people in the surroundings all stared at the battlefield, feeling somewhat taken aback. Before this, everyone felt that the Lifire Palace was destined to be at the bottom. For this battle, the governors and monarchs of the Lifire Palace would only be spectators, making up the numbers. The grand finale would naturally be supported by the Desolate Heaven Palace, Sky Air Palace or the Xianyuan Palace. However, this was truly a grand finale. A mid-stage immortal emperor appeared in the Lifire Palace. He walked up and fought against the governors and monarchs of the 5 world palaces, defeating all of them. He won 5 consecutive victories and didn't rest at all. It seemed like he wouldn't rest until he obtained 8 consecutive victories and obtained the first ranking. Right now, the Lifire Empyrean was feeling very conflicted. He didn't want Qin Wenqian to come to Lifelong City. Firstly, he didn't want him to know that Yi Qianyu was already in Lifelong City. Secondly, he didn't want Qin Wenqian to perform well here. Only then would he be able to better control Qin Wentian. However, Qin Wentian still came. In addition, Qin Wentian was even more dazzling than he had expected. However, Qin Wentian just so happened to appear at a time when he was extremely embarrassed. He was trying to salvage some face for his Lifefire Palace. Earlier, all the World Palace lords were looking at him mockingly. If Qin Wentian could obtain the first ranking by winning 8 consecutive battles, his Lifefire Palace would undoubtedly gain some face and he would also gain some light. Hence, he was feeling conflicted in his heart. He was thinking about how he should treat Qin Wentian in the future. Xia Ho's expression was as gloomy as ever. The Jialan Monarch was the same as well. This inconspicuous character back then was now many times stronger than him. Behind the Lifefire Empyrean, there was still the Crow Emperor. He was the commander of the royal guards of the Lifefire Palace and it was none other than him who acted against Qin Wentian and Yi Qianyu back then. If Qin Wentian gained power, it would definitely not be a good thing for him. Zhelan Yuntian had once invited Qin Wentian to a banquet, wanting to make peace. However, Qin Wentian said that as long as the Zhelan monarch didn't die, it was impossible for them to make peace. Hence, the Zhelan clan transferred Yi Qianyu away from the Lifefire Palace, wanting to create a rift between Qin Wentian and the Lifefire Empyrean. Right now, they have already achieved their goal. The Lifefire Empyrean and Qin Wentian have already started to be wary of each other. Qin Wentian even went against the Lifefire Empyrean's orders and came here. However, Zhelan Yuntian wasn't as complacent as he imagined. Because Qin Wentian's performance was too outstanding and he was also a character comparable to Di Tian. It was very possible that he would be favored by the Realm Lord. On the battle platform, only the desolate Heaven Palace, Sky Air Palace and the Xianyuan Palace remained, blocking Qin Wentian's path. His gaze landed on the governor of the Xianyuan Palace as he spoke, "Please guide me." Before this, Di Tian fought against Xianyuan Tian Gang from the Xianyuan clan. The governor of the Xianyuan Palace was also someone from the Xianyuan clan and their proficiency should be similar. The governor of the Xianyuan Palace walked out, staring at Qin Wentian. In an instant, an extremely sharp aura gushed forth as a terrifying law domain appeared in the air. This was the domain of divine weapons. Countless divine weapons manifested in the air, transforming into a terrifying vortex that contained countless divine weapons that could destroy everything. The Xianyuan clan controlled the largest divine weapon market in the lifelong realm. There were many weaponsmithing grandmasters among them and they were proficient in controlling divine weapons. They were like kings among weapons, able to control any divine weapons and transform them into their own attacks. In fact, they were also proficient in such law energy. From Qin Wentian, the Vajra Holy will manifested as Buddhic light flashed. He seemed to have transformed into an ancient Buddha, forming an undying Buddha body. The power of the Buddhist path. The eyes of everyone gleamed with sharpness. This Qin Wentian actually had such a profound understanding of the Buddhist path. It was simply unfathomable. Kill. The governor of the Xianyuan Palace coldly snorted. The divine weapons slashed towards Qin Wentian's Buddhic body. However, at this moment, a fearsome golden body appeared, shining with resplendent Buddhic light, blocking the attacks of the divine weapons. However, under the might of the countless divine weapons, the Buddhic light's defense was broken apart. The fearsome attacks continued to rain down. However, countless arms appeared on Qin Wentian's Buddhic body, resembling a 1,000-armed Buddha. Each of the arms radiated a resplendent golden light, flowing with different law energy, manifesting a myriad of techniques that shot towards the incoming divine weapons. Many people had expressions of shock on their faces. That gigantic Buddha body had a myriad of arms and each of the arms actually unleashed a different attack. It was as though there were a myriad of techniques erupting at the same time. In an instant, the domain attacks of the divine weapons were all destroyed. After that, the terrifying Buddhic arms broke through everything, shattering the domain attacks. Qin Wentian's body shone resplendently, resembling an ancient Buddha. His palms were pressed together as he stood there with his eyes closed, unmoving. His Dharma body expanded to 100 meters in size as the millions of arms swam about. After that, all of them shot out at the same time, attacking the governor of the Shenyuan palace. The myriad of techniques were all unleashed at the same time. The might of the attacks was extremely terrifying. The governor of the Shenyuan palace frenziedly defended, using the power of the divine weapons to devour everything. However, it was all useless. Qin Wentian's attacks were too tyrannical. The myriad of techniques complemented each other, shattering his attacks and shattering his defenses. With a thunderous boom, the governor of the Shenyuan palace was forced to retreat. The millions of arms floated in the air, swimming about. Qin Wentian's expression was solemn and solemn, the light from his body was still as resplendent as ever. He then spoke, "Yi Kong of the Sky Air Palace, please come out and fight." Yi Kong stared at Qin Wentian as his expression stiffened. He who was extremely confident in his own strength, no longer felt so confident at this moment. This fellow was simply too powerful. That Buddhist Dharma body was incomparably terrifying. It seemed to be a supremely powerful Dharma body formed from astral souls. As for the myriad of techniques, it was unknown where Qin Wentian cultivated them from. Qin Wentian was simply a monster. If Governor Yi doesn't have the confidence, why don't you fight together with the governor of the desolate Heaven Palace? Qin Wentian calmly spoke. The expressions of the desolate Heaven Palace's governor and Yi Kong froze as their expressions turned unsightly to behold. A mid-stage immortal emperor actually dared to say that he wanted to challenge two supreme immortal emperors. Everyone drew in a deep breath as shock appeared on their faces. This fellow was simply too arrogant. However, this governor from the Lifire Palace was truly very powerful. It was very possible that even the top ranker of the martial competition, Di Tian, wasn't as strong as him. Even until now, no one could see through his full strength. Just this Buddhist Dharma body before them was able to unleash the myriad of techniques. It was simply an unfathomable and tyrannical attack. Since he has spoken, the two of you can act together. If he is defeated, it will be considered a victory for each of you. At this moment, the lifelong Realm Lord smiled. His eyes were as calm as ever, exuding an unfathomable depth. Everyone knew that the Realm Lord also wanted to see how strong Qin Wentian was. Clearly, Qin Wentian had already attracted the Realm Lord's attention. If not, the Realm Lord wouldn't have spoken. Fu Zhan from the desolate Heaven Palace and Yi Kong from the Sky Air Palace both stepped out. Since the Realm Lord has spoken, they naturally had to act. Their gazes were extremely terrifying. From Fu Zhan's body, terrifying rumbling sounds could be heard, causing the eardrums of many to tremble. Even though he was just standing there, there seemed to be terrifying sound waves erupting forth unceasingly. The millions of arms on Qin Wentian's Dharma body seemed to be trembling as well. Yi Kong's body radiated a supreme sword intent, gushing forth unceasingly. The two of them exchanged glances before they acted. Fu Zhan stepped out, his body grew to a size of over 100 meters, resembling an ancient war god. A terrifying formless sound wave energy seemed to originate from the primordial era, capable of shattering everything. One after another, Qin Wentian's Dharma body actually shattered under the might of that sound wave. Yi Kong also acted. His movement technique was as fast as a shooting star, his sword technique was as fast as his movement technique. As his sword slashed out, the arm shattered as numerous afterimages appeared. In an instant, many of the arms of Qin Wentian's law body were destroyed. But what made everyone shocked was that his law body's arms would regenerate after being destroyed, indestructible and indestructible. The many arms converged into a terrifying Buddhist palm imprint that shot out at the same time, exuding boundless might. Fu Zhan roared and blasted out a primordial war god fist. A pitch-black storm appeared and continuously expanded, transforming into a primordial destructive current that tore apart all the power that blocked its path. Yi Kong's silhouette was like lightning. He directly broke through from the direction of Fu Zhan's shattered Dharma arms, shooting towards the direction of Qin Wentian's true body. When the Dharma arms blocked his path, Yi Kong's silhouette directly transformed into nothingness as he soared through the air, almost arriving before Qin Wentian. A sword slashed out, so fast that it resembled a beam of destructive light. Fu Zhan's attacks are tyrannical while Yi Kong's attacks are extremely fast. The two of them complemented each other, simply invincible. Everyone was shocked. Fu Zhan destroyed everything with a single strike, and Yi Kong directly appeared before Qin Wentian's true body. All of this happened in the span of a single thought. When the two of them cooperated, it could be said to be extremely terrifying. At this moment, Qin Wentian's true body opened his eyes. With a single glance, a boundlessly resplendent light flashed. Yi Kong only felt himself falling into a trance, entering an eye-technique domain. He didn't hesitate and slashed out with his sword, splitting apart the sky, destroying the eye-technique domain. However, Qin Wentian's figure could no longer be seen in front of him. There were only numerous vine-like arms wrapped around him, burying him within. Yi Kong radiated an extremely powerful sword might. In an instant, he slashed out with a lightning-like sword art, creating an opening in the domain. He instantly rushed out, only to see numerous palm imprints rushing towards him. He slashed out with his sword and retreated to the outside, floating in the air together with Fu Zhan as they stared at the silhouette before them. This Qin Wentian was too difficult to deal with. He was just a mid-stage immortal emperor, how could he be so difficult to deal with? Your strength isn't bad, but in this battlefield, you are destined to be defeated. For this battle, I will definitely obtain the number 1 position for the Lifire Palace. Qin Wentian arrogantly spoke. In an instant, the millions of arms moved at the same time, fusing together into one, sealing this space. It was like a gigantic palm imprint, sealing the space within. At this moment, even the astral light in the air couldn't descend, it was severed. Fu Zhan and Yi Kong both had heavy expressions on their faces. That gigantic palm imprint actually manifested different types of law energy, radiating boundless destructive might. It transformed into a supreme grand formation, launching a sure-kill attack towards Fu Zhan and Yi Kong. Chapter 1629. Fu Zhan and Yi Kong were trapped within this gigantic Buddha palm imprint. They inclined their heads and stared at the center of the palm. This was clearly a Buddha palm imprint, yet there were laws of different attributes within it. Beams of terrifying swords of light slashed down, as well as spatial tempests. This palm imprint was like a killing formation, it wasn't just a single attack. The two of them were supreme immortal emperors, characters at the peak of their cultivation bases. But right now, they still felt despair. The spectators were all deeply shocked. This governor of Lifire City, Qin Wentian, actually fused the thousands of Buddha palms together, forming a terrifying Buddha palm imprint that blotted out the sky. It rained down a myriad of techniques, even isolating Fu Zhan and Yi Kong's astral light, causing them to have no way to borrow the power of astral law energy to fight. Rumble, Fu Zhan clenched his fists. His body grew larger and larger, completely transforming into an ancient battle god. His fists flowed with a terrifying destructive might, rumbling as sonic booms rang out. Fu Zhan stomped the air as he roared in rage. Both his fists ferociously punched out, blasting towards the palm imprint. Two destructive punches shook the heavens and earth, causing the space within to tremble. However, the sound of Sanskrit rang out. That terrifying Buddha palm imprint continued to interweave and transform, forming a terrifying spatial gate that was incomparably deep. When the incomparably shocking ancient slaughter fist descended, the spatial gate opened wide. The terrifying attack directly penetrated through it, passing through the giant palm imprint and headed towards the void. It was actually banished to the outside world, unable to truly come into contact with the giant palm imprint at all. This scene simply caused Fu Zhan to feel despair. Qin Wentian had too many methods. He was simply a perfect individual, proficient in a myriad of techniques, able to do whatever he wanted. Yi Kong directly soared through the air. His sword slashed out unceasingly, slashing at the palm imprint, wanting to cleave it apart. If they continued to be trapped here, they would be defeated sooner or later. All of a sudden, a boundless amount of sword light descended from the great palm imprint. It was like a 10,000 sword formation, with Yi Kong as the center. The sword light shot out. Yi Kong's attack could not be sustained at all, and he continuously waved his sword to defend. In an instant, a storm of swords was formed around his body, which was incomparably resplendent. However, the space where he was at seemed to have become a sword tomb. Tens of thousands of swords returned to this place and slashed down. Yi Kong waved his sword and slashed open the void, directly passing through and leaving the battlefield, once again arriving at Fu Zhan's side. The two of them had their backs to each other, and a helpless expression appeared on their faces. They had fallen into this trap and could not break out at all. Admit defeat. Qin Wentian's voice drifted over. After that, countless arms appeared on the gigantic palm, blasting towards them. All sorts of attacks rained down on them. They continued to resist, destroying the attacks. However, terrifying rumbling sounds could be heard. The terrifying gigantic palm seemed to be about to slam down, bringing with it an endless amount of attacks, crushing towards them. Fu Zhan and Yi Kong both closed their eyes when they saw the gigantic palm. Fu Zhan sighed and said, "I've lost." "You've won." Yi Kong similarly spoke. After that, the gigantic palm froze in the air. After that, beams of law light dissipated as the gigantic palm transformed back into countless arms and returned to Qin Wentian's body. When his astral souls vanished, how could the terrifying scene earlier still exist? There was only the figure of a white-robed governor standing there, exuding an unparalleled aura. He fought against the governors and monarchs of the other 8 world palaces alone. In the final battle, he fought against Fu Zhan and Yi Kong, forcing the two of them to concede. Such a glorious battle record was truly something that had never been seen before. Right now, the governors and monarchs of the other 8 world palaces didn't even fight against each other. It was like all the light was focused on him alone. This man was none other than the governor of the Lifefire Palace, Qin Wentian. Today, in the grand banquet of the lifelong realm, there would definitely be 2 people whose names would resound through the entire lifelong realm. One of them was none other than Di Tian, a grandmaster weaponsmith who obtained first place in the martial competition with a cultivation base at the mid-stage of the Immortal Emperor realm. As for the other person, he was none other than the governor of the Lifefire city. He was also a mid-stage Immortal Emperor and swept through the supreme Immortal Emperors of the other 8 world palaces, defeating 8 of them in a row and obtaining complete victories. Yi Qianyu was incomparably beautiful, her beautiful eyes shone with a resplendent luster as she stared at the figure standing on the towering platform. The Lifefire Empyrean glanced at Qin Wentian. Great waves actually rose in his heart. This Qin Wentian was too outstanding. Back then when he made use of Qin Wentian, although he knew that Qin Wentian was powerful, he didn't expect Qin Wentian's talent to be so high. If he knew this would happen, he might have used gentler methods to treat Qin Wentian, nurturing Qin Wentian into his trusted aid. Now, Qin Wentian obtained first place, causing the Lifefire Palace to not lose so much face. However, the Lifefire Empyrean didn't really care about this. His mind was filled with thoughts on how he should treat Qin Wentian in the future. Naturally, the prerequisite was that the Realm Lord wouldn't ask him for Qin Wentian. Palace Lord, this Qin Wentian most probably still holds a grudge against you for what happened in the past. The Crow Emperor transmitted his voice to the Lifefire Empyrean. The Lifefire Empyrean frowned and glanced at the Crow Emperor. He naturally understood what the Crow Emperor was thinking. Back then, the person he sent to the Jialan Emperor city was none other than the Crow Emperor. He was the one who helped them capture Yi Qianyu. If Qin Wentian obtained power, the first people he would deal with would naturally be the Crow Emperor and the Jialan Monarch. The Jialan Monarch instantly knew what the Crow Emperor must have said when he saw the Li-Fire Emperor's gaze. However, he didn't interrupt. Back then, the Li-Fire Emperor had harmed him badly. Although he was a subordinate of the Li-Fire Emperor, everyone knew what their relationship was like. It wasn't his place to speak. This Governor Qin isn't simple. Palace Lord, if you can gain his loyalty, he would surely be a ferocious general. In the future, if the Li-Fire Emperor needs him, he would definitely be able to follow Palace Lord into battle. Beauty Zhao's eyes flashed with a smile as she casually spoke. Her beautiful eyes flashed with a bright light when she stared at Qin Wentian. She didn't expect this fellow to be so powerful. Right now, even the Li-Fire Emperor's heart was stirred. The eyes of many major powers from the Li-Fire Palace flashed. This Governor Qin was sent to the northern city regions by the Li-Fire Emperor. At that time, no one thought highly of him. They felt that he would be like the other governors from the past, being played around in the palms of the Jialan clan. However, after the battle at the ancient river auction house, Qin Wentian displayed his brilliance. Right now, in Lifelong City, his radiance was even more dazzling. If it wasn't for the fact that he had a shameful history as a bandit, it would be even more perfect. His background as a bandit would ultimately affect his future, causing the Li-Fire Emperor to have to think twice before using him. No one knew what the lifelong Realm Lord would do after he learned of this matter. Jialan Yintian and Jialan Chuyue from the Jialan clan all had complicated expressions on their faces. They didn't expect Jialan Chuyue's words to hit the nail on the head. The person who didn't come was here, and he was even more dazzling than they had imagined. Before this, after many people saw Di Tian's performance, they all felt that it would be hard for Di Tian to surpass him. No matter how outstanding the northern governor, Qin Wentian, was, he wouldn't be as outstanding as Grandmaster Di. But now, Qin Wentian single-handedly defeated the 8 world palaces. Between him and Di Tian, who was a Grandmaster weaponsmith and a Grandmaster, who was more outstanding? Grandmaster Di, what do you think of Governor Qin? Jialan Yintian softly asked Di Tian. Governor Qin's magnificence is unmatched. Di Tian smiled. He naturally wouldn't say that they were the same person. If Jialan Yintian knew of this, it was unknown what expression would he have. Seems like this old man was wrong back then. I hope Grandmaster Di Tian won't take it to heart. Jialan Yintian spoke again, he was actually apologizing. Di Tian started, he instantly understood what Jialan Yintian was referring to. Back then, the Jialan clan forced him to join their faction and even held a banquet to invite him. At the same time, they also invited Qin Wentian, separating Di Tian and Qin Wentian, allowing Di Tian to completely stand on their side. Right now, Jialan Yintian clearly didn't dare to have any thoughts of controlling Di Tian. I'm not very clear about what Jialan clan leader is talking about. Di Tian shrugged and smiled. Jialan Yintian's eyes flashed before he smiled and nodded. However, he was thinking in his heart, would Di Tian mind what happened back then? Countless people discussed, their gazes all landed on Qin Wentian, the focus of the crowd. What would be the fate of this governor from Li-Fire City? The lifelong Realm Lord laughed. Do the 8 of you still want to fight to determine the rankings? He was naturally referring to the other 8 governors other than Qin Wentian. The earlier battles had completely become a stage for Qin Wentian alone. The other 8 supreme emperors were all reduced to supporting characters. Before the battle started, many people felt that the governors from the Li-Fire Palace were just there to make up the numbers. But now, it was the complete opposite. There's no need. Fu Zhan spoke. Since the Realm Lord asked this, he naturally wanted them to skip the battles. If not, he just needed to say that the battles should continue. The others also understood the meaning of the Realm Lord's words. All of them shook their heads, there was no meaning to continue the battles. The finale was the grand finale, Qin Wentian had stolen everyone's glory. In fact, he even stole the glory of the first ranker of the 13 rounds. Everyone can return to your respective world palaces. The lifelong Realm Lord waved his hand and smiled. Everyone's silhouettes flashed as they returned to their seats. Qin Wentian came to the Li-Fire Empyrean's side and bowed to him. Palace Lord, this subordinate has not let you down. Governor Qin, it's been hard on you. Please take a seat. The Li-Fire Empyrean smiled. At this moment, he naturally wouldn't blame Qin Wentian. Yes, Palace Lord. Qin Wentian no longer had the arrogance he had on the battle platform earlier. He was extremely humble now. He knew that the Li-Fire Empyrean wouldn't allow him to easily see through the Li-Fire Empyrean's attitude. But he understood that he should keep a low profile now. Beauty Xiao winked at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian walked to her side and sat down. Beauty Xiao was smiling at him as she transmitted her voice, "You must be doing this for Yi Qianyu. When would you be able to do this for me?" Qin Wentian rolled his eyes. Beauty Xiao had a look of hidden bitterness on her face as she transmitted her voice, "You have no conscience." Qin Wentian turned his gaze in the direction of the lifelong Realm Lord. The lifelong Realm Lord had a smile on his face as he spoke. The battle between the 9 world palaces Empyreans is even more fascinating compared to the previous one. Everyone, are you satisfied with the results? There are so many capable people in the lifelong realm. All of them are honored by the Realm Lord. The Sky Air Empyrean respectfully spoke. He was the Realm Lord's disciple, but right now, he still referred to the lifelong Realm Lord as disciple. They weren't selected by me. They are all chosen based on your capabilities. For those who performed outstandingly earlier, you all have to reward them heavily. The lifelong Realm Lord laughed. Naturally. Your subordinates will naturally reward them heavily. The 9 world palace lords all expressed their stance. The lifelong Realm Lord smiled and nodded. He turned his gaze in the direction of the Li-Fire Palace. Such a character appeared in the Li-Fire Palace, but you actually didn't allow him to come. What's going on? Could it be that you are afraid this seat will snatch your people away? Chapter 1630. The Li-Fire Empyrean's gaze froze. He didn't know how to reply for a moment. Qin Wentian's situation was truly somewhat complicated, but it was impossible for him to say it out loud in front of everyone. He could only reply, "This subordinate doesn't dare to. It's just that the Li-Fire city needs someone to guard it." Before this subordinate ordered Governor Qin to stand guard there. "Is that so?" The lifelong Realm Lord calmly asked. Qin Wentian actually dared to say such an excuse in front of him. The Li-Fire Empyrean had a look of difficulty on his face. But at this moment, Qin Wentian stood up and bowed to the lifelong Realm Lord. "This matter has nothing to do with Palace Lord. It's just that because this subordinate's identity is sensitive, Palace Lord is worried that something might go wrong. I beg for Palace Lord's forgiveness." Qin Wentian's words caused the Li-Fire Empyrean's eyes to narrow. The lifelong Realm Lord grew even more curious. Although he was the lifelong Realm Overlord, there would naturally be people who would handle the matters below him. There was no need for the 9 world palaces to report to him for ordinary matters. A mere bandit wouldn't be able to reach his ears. Hence, he had no idea about the matters between Yi Qianyu and Qin Wentian. "Oh. Your identity is sensitive? Tell me about it." The lifelong Realm Lord asked. Junior is a sinner and was born as a bandit. Back then in the territory of the Li-Fire Palace, the Jialan Monarch was a bandit and was captured. Palace Lord disregarded this subordinate's identity and placed me in an important position. This subordinate is already filled with endless gratitude. Qin Wentian's tone was extremely polite, not wanting to offend the Li-Fire Empyrean at all. In fact, he even faintly praised the Li-Fire Empyrean. Although he was very impressive on the battlefield today, the Lifeire Empyrean was after all one of the 9 world palace lords of the lifelong realm. His foundation wasn't something he could compare to in a single battle. Now that he wanted to save Yi Qianyu, he naturally couldn't afford to offend the Lifeire Empyrean. Bandit? The lifelong realm lord's eyes flashed with a strange light as he glanced at the Lifeire Empyrean. Yes, realm lord. Also, back then, I followed Yi Qianyu and became a bandit. Now that Yi Qianyu has appeared at the banquet, Palace Lord is worried that I might be impulsive if I meet her. This is why he wants me to stay in Lifeire City. Qin Wentian continued. Yi Qianyu. The lifelong realm lord thought back to that supreme beauty from the red dust Immortal Palace. Her name was Yi Qianyu and she was the daughter of the Night Empyrean back then. She came here to beg for forgiveness. His gaze turned to the crowd from the red dust Immortal Palace, and when his eyes landed on Yi Qianyu, he instantly understood some things. The crowd revealed a strange expression. They finally understood why Qin Wentian had appeared and why he was so domineering. It turned out that this battle was for the sake of a beauty. Qin Wentian wanted to do his best to display his talent, and from there, he wanted the lifelong realm lord to release him. Yes. Qin Wentian nodded. In that case, you came here for her? The lifelong realm lord directly asked. Realm lord, please forgive me. Qin Wentian bowed. The lifelong realm lord's gaze was fixed on him. Not only for the realm lord, at this moment, the Lifeire Empyrean, people from the Jialan clan as well as many experts were all staring at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian was a bandit, but his talent was extraordinary. He participated in the lifelong banquet and fought in such a domineering manner, all for the sake of a woman. However, this woman was truly a supreme beauty. That dance she performed caused many major characters to feel their hearts stirring, wanting to take her for themselves. Now, it all depended on the realm lord's decision. Would he spare Yi Qianyu because of Qin Wentian's talent? Yi Qianyu was captured by your Lifeire Palace. The lifelong realm lord suddenly turned to the Lifeire Empyrean. Replying to realm lord. Back then, Yi Qianyu was the leader of the bandits, causing chaos in the region. I ordered my men to capture her and lock her up in the prison. Because Qin Wentian was only an accomplice, he had no choice but to join the bandits, and his talent was truly extraordinary. Hence, I didn't imprison him as well and wanted him to atone for his crimes through his contributions. The Lifeire Empyrean spoke. No matter how highly the realm lord regarded Qin Wentian's talent, he still had to make things clear. In that case, you didn't do anything wrong. The lifelong realm lord nodded lightly. Has Qin Wentian done anything before? He has been the governor of the northern regions of Lifeire City for tens of years and has contributed greatly to the reorganization of the northern regions. The Lifeire Empyrean spoke. Since this is the case, Qin Wentian, you don't have to care about your identity as a bandit anymore. Just continue to be the governor of Lifeire City. The lifelong realm lord spoke. This sentence was undoubtedly paving the way for Qin Wentian's future. He wouldn't care about Qin Wentian's identity as a bandit anymore. As for Yi Qianyu, she is the leader of the bandits. It's impossible for me to release her just like that. Just let her stay in the lifelong Saint Hall as a servant for now. In the future, if Qin Wentian has done something great, you can come and ask me for her again. The lifelong realm lord decided Yi Qianyu's fate with a single sentence. Qin Wentian felt a little disappointed in his heart. When he saw Yi Qianyu appearing here, he decided to take the risk and fight, shocking everyone with a domineering battle. He truly hoped that the realm lord would spare Yi Qianyu. However, the lifelong realm lord's words were impeccable. As the leader of the bandits, he couldn't release Yi Qianyu just like that. Letting him redeem Yi Qianyu after achieving great merits was already showing him mercy. What else could he say? Many thanks for realm lord's kindness. Qin Wentian bowed. He could only thank the lifelong realm lord. In the future, give him more opportunities to gain merits. The lifelong Realm Lord instructed the Lifeire Empyrean. Yes, Realm Lord. The Lifeire Empyrean nodded. Seems like the Realm Lord truly regarded Qin Wentian highly. Although the Realm Lord didn't ask him for Qin Wentian, he wanted to make use of him to allow Qin Wentian to gain merits. In that case, if he wanted to use Qin Wentian in the future, it would be much more convenient. He could directly transfer Qin Wentian to the lifelong Saint Hall. Alright, everyone, there's no need to be so reserved. Let's enjoy this banquet. Next, if the 9 world palaces have any matters they need to report, they can directly come to my place. The lifelong Realm Lord smiled in a carefree manner. Everyone had smiles on their faces as they toasted to the lifelong Realm Lord. After that, the atmosphere grew livelier. The fairies of the Red Dust Immortal Palace once again floated down to the central platform and started dancing. There were also beauties playing elegant melodies. However, this time around, Yi Qianyu didn't go up and remained at her original location. Qin Wentian turned his gaze in Yi Qianyu's direction only to see that Yi Qianyu was also looking in his direction at this moment. She had a radiant smile on her face, exuding a sense of seduction. She even winked at him. Qin Wentian laughed when he saw this scene. Although she was a maid in the lifelong Saint Hall and couldn't be considered as having freedom, it was still much better than staying in the Lifeire jail. Governor Qin, congratulations. Beauty Xiao saw that Qin Wentian and Yi Qianyu were exchanging glances and couldn't help but to giggle. She lifted her cup and moved closer to Qin Wentian. Her soft body was almost pressed against Qin Wentian's. Her snow-white chest was faintly discernible and was extremely alluring. Staring at the mischievous smile on her face, Qin Wentian instantly knew that this woman was doing this intentionally. Qin Wentian saw that Yi Qianyu from afar had a meaningful smile on her face when she saw this scene. Her gaze was filled with hidden bitterness. Qin Wentian bitterly smiled and shook his head, clinking his cup with Beauty Xiao. Beauty Xiao, there's no need for you to be so close to him, right? Yin Qiu's neutral voice rang out. Beauty Xiao glanced at him and pressed even tighter against Qin Wentian, almost pouncing on Qin Wentian. The Lifeire Empyrean didn't find this strange. Beauty Xiao has always been like this, he didn't think too much about it. Seems like your gamble was right. With the Realm Lord's words, the Lifeire Empyrean wouldn't dare to act against you so easily in the future. He would probably use soft tactics to rope you in. Beauty Xiao spoke in a light voice. This time around, I was the one who gave you this information. How do you intend to thank me? As she transmitted her voice, Beauty Xiao's red lips were alluring, revealing an extremely ambiguous expression towards Qin Wentian. This caused Qin Wentian to silently curse at her for being a vixen. Governor Qin, let me toast you as well. Before this, there were some unpleasantness between us, I hope that Governor Qin won't take it to heart. Xia Ho raised his cup to Qin Wentian as he spoke, as though he wanted to make peace with Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian calmly glanced at Xia Ho as a teasing smile could be seen on his face. Before this, Xia Ho would mock him every time they met. But now, Xia Ho actually wanted to admit defeat. Governor Xia Ho is too polite. Qin Wentian raised his cup and smiled, he didn't make things difficult for Xia Ho. He knew that Xia Ho's words didn't mean that Xia Ho had no ill feelings towards him and wanted to be on good terms with him. Even if he raised his cup in response, it didn't mean that he had forgotten about the past. Qin Wentian, today, you have truly gained face for our Lifeire Palace. Grand Governor Zhuge Xiong took the initiative to toast to Qin Wentian. Since the Realm Lord has personally spoken, they all knew that the Lifeire Empyrean would do his best to rope in Qin Wentian. Hence, there was no need for them to hold back. Grand Governor, please. Qin Wentian replied. After that, Lin Ba also came over to toast to Qin Wentian. His attitude towards Qin Wentian was extremely polite. Not only so, the major powers who came here together with the Li-Fire Empyrean also came over to toast to Qin Wentian, exchanging some pleasantries, appearing extremely friendly. After the battle today, both Qin Wentian and Di Tian would become characters that no one dared to approach in Li-Fire City. Only the Jialan monarch had a heavy expression on his face as he sat there, drinking alone. His countenance was pale and extremely unsightly to behold. Anyone could reconcile with Qin Wentian, but it was impossible for him. Right from the start, the Li-Fire Empyrean wanted to rope in Qin Wentian. Although he was making use of Qin Wentian, his method was very gentle and he didn't have any deep grudges with Qin Wentian. Even the Jialan clan couldn't be considered to have a grudge with Qin Wentian. The only person who truly had a deep grudge with Qin Wentian was him, the Jialan monarch. Because of the grudge between him and his daughter, Jialan Mingyue, he had offended Qin Wentian greatly. Naturally, Qin Wentian and Yi Qianyu also caused him to be in a miserable state. This grudge couldn't be resolved. But now, Qin Wentian displayed such talent, and in addition to the fact that the Jialan clan wanted to reconcile with Qin Wentian, the Jialan monarch grew increasingly unhappy the more he thought about it. Given the current situation, the Jialan monarch might even express goodwill to Qin Wentian in the future. They wouldn't want to offend this supreme immortal emperor who was noticed by the realm lord. As he thought of this, the Jialan monarch continued to drink alone to drown his sorrows. Over at the Jialan clan side, the spiritual character of the Jialan clan, Jialan Jiangshan, already understood the grudge between the Jialan clan and Qin Wentian. He spoke to Jialan Yuntian, "Do your best to mend the relationship between you and Qin Wentian." Chapter 1631. Many thanks, Palace Lord. Di Tian clasped his hands to the Li-Fire Empyrean, laughing silently in his heart. The Li-Fire Empyrean and his original self, Qin Wentian, had a grudge because of Yi Qianyu. He would naturally be on guard against Qin Wentian, but towards him, the Li-Fire Empyrean would definitely pull him back from the Jialan clan. "Seniors, you two are too serious." Qin Wentian had a sincere smile on his face. He didn't expect that he would meet someone from the Battle Saint tribe here. "Ancient Emperor." The two palace lords started. They exchanged mutual glances and laughed involuntarily. Maybe it's because of the time difference. "Right now, do you guys refer to him as Ancient Emperor?" Di Tian originally had the identity of an unaffiliated cultivator. But because he was already appointed as the supervisory commander of the Li-Fire Palace by the Realm Lord, he could be considered an official of the lifelong realm. Since the Li-Fire Empyrean personally invited him, Di Tian naturally wouldn't reject. The people of the Jialan clan glanced at Di Tian with some worry in their hearts, worried that the friendship they spent so much effort to establish with Di Tian would be destroyed by the Li-Fire Empyrean. Before they left, Jialan Chuyue stared at Di Tian with a hint of bitterness in her eyes. "Palace lords, how are you related to Ancient Emperor?" Qin Wentian asked. He stared at the two before him. Could it be that one of them was Ancient Emperor? Everything pointed to a single place, the Battle Saint tribe. "I'm asking about your roots." That palace lord continued. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed with a strange light, but he quickly concealed it. Junior doesn't understand what Palace Lord White means by this. The two palace lords nodded. After that, the two serving girls retreated. One of the palace lords waved her hand as a formless energy enveloped this courtyard, isolating it from the probing of immortal senses. The Gemini Palace Lord smiled and nodded. However, the rumors outside are all mixed. Ancient Emperor might not be a good friend of the lifelong Realm Lord. "Oh right, I saw that the palm imprint Di Tian used also contained a trace of the intent of God's hand, but I don't dare to confirm if that was the manifestation of God's hand." Qin Wentian abruptly stood up as a flash of lightning flashed in his eyes. Their surname was Qi. This surname wasn't strange at all. But if one connected Ancient Emperor in God's hand with this surname, there would be a deeper meaning to it. In that case, you are indeed the successor of ancient Emperor Yi? The two palace lords asked. This is what I should do. Qin Wentian was still humble. Ancient Emperor Yi of the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms. I'm from the Gemini Temple, and I'm the palace master's maid. My palace master has invited you over. The maid smiled, her words causing Qin Wentian to be even more puzzled. He stared at her and asked, Gemini Palace Lord, what did you invite me for? I've been to a place with 3 bronze gates. I went in. Qin Wentian still didn't dare to reveal it easily. He was still a little alert, but his words had already hinted very clearly. Governor Qin, please. The immortal emperor maidservant smiled and gestured. After that, the two of them walked forward and arrived at the Gemini Palace within the Longevity Hall. Surnamed Qi, God's Hand, Ancient Emperor Yi. Ancient Emperor Yi? Qin Wentian's eyes flashed as he asked. The two palace lords continued to place their chess pieces. After some time, one of them asked, Qin Wentian, where did you come from? Qin Wentian started. He stared at the other party and replied, Junior comes from Lifire City. Have you heard of Ancient Emperor Yi? The two palace lords of the Gemini Palace put down their chess pieces and turned their gazes to Qin Wentian. At this moment, Qin Wentian only felt a huge pressure bearing down on him. At the same time, his heart pounded violently as he stared in shock at the two palace lords. Qin Wentian initially wanted to look for Yi Qianyu. However, Yi Qianyu had already left with the people from the Red Dust Immortal Palace. They still needed to wait for the Realm Lord to deal with them. Although the Realm Lord spared Yi Qianyu from jail, she was forced to become a servant in the lifelong Saint Hall. As for the fact that there were bandits in the Red Dust Immortal Palace, they naturally had to give the Realm Lord an explanation. I heard that the two of you are subordinates of a world overlord. It's rumored that he is a friend of the lifelong Realm Lord. In that case, Senior Ancient Emperor Yi must be that Realm Lord? Qin Wentian asked. However, he had no other choice. The Gemini Palace Lord had already given the order. He could only speak to Di Tian, Grandmaster Di, Xia Ho, have offended you in the past. If there's a chance, Xia Ho, will definitely hold a banquet to apologize. I hope that Grandmaster Di can forgive me. Right. Fairy, please lead the way. Qin Wentian nodded. In that case, should the two of us pay our respects to the Saint Lord? The two of them exchanged glances and smiled. At the same time, they stared at Qin Wentian, causing great waves of shock to rise in Qin Wentian's heart. Our surnames are Qi. The two of them spoke at the same time. Have you heard of the two of us? The Gemini Palace Lord asked. Lifelong City arranged lodgings for the 9 World Palace Lords and their subordinates. Every 100 years, the 9 World Palace Lords would stay in the same location. The various governors and monarchs would naturally stay together with their World Palace Lords. As for the people from the other major and minor powers, they could only head to Lifelong City to look for inns or hotels to stay in. The lifelong realm is boundlessly vast, there are many experts with authority. The 9 world palaces have their own territories. All of you came from my Lifire City. In the future, no matter where you go, my Lifire Palace will always be your backing. The Lifire Empyrean spoke. It's the same for the others as well. All of you have the imprint of Lifire City on you. Ancient Emperor Yi, they actually asked him if he had heard of Ancient Emperor Yi before. Governor Qin. This maiden smiled as she called out to Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian asked in puzzlement, Fairy, you are? Di Tian, I've heard of the matters in the past. Xia Ho acted on his own and made things difficult for your Emperor Pavilion. After that, I sent Violet Moon to the central regions to settle this matter. Violet Moon should have gone to the Emperor Pavilion before, right? The Lifire Empyrean asked Di Tian. Di Tian glanced at Violet Moon who was beside the Lifire Empyrean and smiled as he nodded, thank you Palace Lord for interfering in this matter. Qin Wentian started as well. That's right, in this era, they naturally referred to him as Ancient Emperor Yi. But what if this Gemini Palace Lord was someone from the same era as Ancient Emperor Yi? It would be impossible for him to refer to himself as Ancient Emperor Yi. As he spoke, he quickened his pace and departed. The Jelon Monarch's expression froze. He stared at the back view of Qin Wentian as his expression grew extremely ugly. This was a blatant threat to him. Since Palace Lord has already spoken, I naturally won't be calculative with you. As for the banquet, let's forget about it. Di Tian calmly spoke, not giving any face to Xia Ho at all. Right now, he also didn't need to give face to Xia Ho. The lifelong Realm Lord had personally appointed him as the supervisory commander and he had the authority to do so. Only the governors and monarchs would beg him for help, he didn't need to submit to any of them. Even the Lifire Empyrean wouldn't be able to control him. After the banquet, the music would eventually come to an end. This is what I should do. Xia Ho, in the future, you and Di Tian will be comrades. Apologize for what happened in the past. The Lifire Empyrean instructed. Xia Ho's expression froze. Before this, he had already submitted to Qin Wentian. Now, he was ordered to apologize to Di Tian again. This could be considered a complete loss of face. Maybe the Lifire Empyrean admires Governor Qin because of your outstanding talent. In any case, my Lifire Empyrean naturally wouldn't harm Governor Qin. The serving girl smiled. Qin Wentian nodded. This place was the lifelong Saint Hall. No matter what, there was no harm in making a trip there. How did you all know? Qin Wentian asked. Sit. The two palace lords of the Gemini Palace were still playing chess, but they spoke to Qin Wentian. Some things should be stopped when the time is right. The Lifire Empyrean naturally wouldn't lower his status too much. After exchanging some pleasantries with Di Tian and Qin Wentian, he allowed everyone to depart. When they exited, Qin Wentian intentionally walked together with the Jelon Monarch. He spoke in a low voice, Jelon Monarch, you have to be more careful in the future. Qin Wentian walked up and came to the side of the chessboard. He glanced at it and saw that both sides were evenly matched. After that, he sat down quietly and didn't interrupt. Jr. was fortunate enough to cultivate God's hand and entered the Battle Saint tribe. I'm the Saint Lord of this generation of the Battle Saint tribe. Qin Wentian spoke. He then continued, where is Senior Ancient Emperor Yi? Palace Lord is too serious. Di Tian calmly replied, neither servile nor overbearing. Xia Ho was extremely arrogant. This point could be seen from his domineering attitude towards Di Tian back then. But now, the two people he offended back then, he couldn't afford to offend either of them. Both of them had to apologize. From this, one could very well imagine how uncomfortable he felt in his heart. In a courtyard, in a pavilion under the moonlight, two figures were currently playing chess. Other than them, there was also a beautiful immortal emperor serving girl. Upon seeing Qin Wentian walking over, that serving girl smiled, Palace Lord, Governor Qin has arrived. We will take our leave first. Xia Ho's expression stiffened. The Lifire Empyrean acted like he didn't understand Di Tian's words. He calmly nodded, Di Tian, in the future when your Emperor Pavilion expands in Lifire City. If you need anything, just come to the Lifire Palace directly to look for me. I will naturally protect you. The World Palace Lords of the 9 World Palaces still had matters to handle and naturally had to stay in the lifelong Saint Hall. They still needed to hand over the tributes for the past 100 years. That final giant palm imprint, was it a manifestation of God's hand? A World Palace Lord asked. At this moment, Qin Wentian no longer had any doubts. Seems like the 2 World Palace Lords have already seen through it. In the great hall, the Li-Fire Empyrean sat on the main seat. He swept his gaze over everyone before smiling at Di Tian and Qin Wentian. In the battle today, Governor Di and Qin Wentian, the two of you have displayed your brilliance and brought glory to our Li-Fire city. As the Palace Lord, I also feel that I've gained a lot of face. Yes, Palace Lord. Everyone nodded. This Li-Fire Empyrean was trying to win over the hearts of the people. However, what he said was also the truth. There would definitely be countless connections between the various powers. In the future, even if they took up a position in the lifelong Saint Hall, they would still have the mark of the Li-Fire Palace on them. Unless one day, they became the trusted aides of the Realm Lord. Only then would they be able to completely discard the mark of the past. The lifelong Saint Hall was very vast. Each of the 9 world palaces had their own residences here. That night, the Li-Fire Empyrean ordered the governors and monarchs of Li-Fire City to give a speech and even invited Di Tian. Chapter 1632. Qin Wentian started. The palm imprint Di Tian used at the end was indeed a manifestation of God's hand, but in truth, it seemed more like a sealing palm. Those who weren't familiar with God's hand would definitely not be able to tell. But since the Gemini Palace Lords were from the Battle Saint tribe, it wasn't that strange for them to be able to see through it. God's hand was originally a manifestation of the Battle Saint art. Maybe, the Battle Saint art contained many different forms of God's hand. Hence, they were able to see through it the most. Senior's eyes are like torches. Di Tian and I are twins. I've cultivated God's hand and there's naturally no need for me to hide it from him. The two of us are the same as seniors, both of us are Saint Lords of the Battle Saint tribe. Because we might encounter unknown dangers in the supreme ancient immortal realms, the two of us decided to conceal our identities and act separately. Even if something happens to one of us, there's still someone else who can take revenge. I hope that seniors can help me keep this a secret. Qin Wentian spoke. He didn't reveal the matter about his avatar. He still had to keep this a secret. If it wasn't someone from the Battle Saint tribe, he wouldn't even admit that he had a relationship with Di Tian. No wonder. The Gemini Palace Lords nodded, they didn't suspect anything. Qin Wentian and Di Tian's law attributes were completely different. No one would suspect that they were the same person. Hence, they believed Qin Wentian's words even more. Don't worry, we naturally won't reveal this matter. Is the Battle Saint tribe doing well now? Did anyone follow you to the supreme ancient immortal realms? The Battle Saint tribe is doing very well. As for me coming to the supreme ancient immortal realms, it's also a coincidence. No one from the Battle Saint tribe followed me here, they are all still in Azure Mystic. Qin Wentian slowly spoke. Oh yes, seniors, if I wish to return to Azure Mystic, what should I do? Given your current cultivation base, it would be extremely difficult if you want to directly traverse the immortal realms. Also, the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms is a forbidden region. Hence, it isn't like the other immortal realms where many peak powers have teleportation arrays. If you want to return to Azure Mystic now, it would be extremely troublesome. A Palace Lord said. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed with disappointment. It was not easy to return to Azure Mystic. There's one more thing I have to tell you. The lifelong Realm Lord should have already seen through the God's hand you used. Di Tian might not be able to tell, but the final move of this true body is clearly a derivation of God's hand. The Saint Lord had once used a similar derivation technique before, it would be hard to hide it from the lifelong Realm Lord's eyes. Hence, you have to be mentally prepared. The lifelong Realm Lord might not put you in an important position. On the contrary, the possibility of your twin brother Di Tian being put in an important position is higher. Qin Wentian's expression froze. Seems like the relationship between the lifelong Realm Lord and Ancient Emperor Yi was very subtle. They weren't as good friends as the rumors said. In that case, Yi Qianyu. Qin Wenqian's eyes flashed. It's highly possible that he intentionally left her in the lifelong Saint Hall. However, you don't have to worry too much. At the very least, Yi Qianyu isn't in any danger. The lifelong Realm Lord can see that you used God's hand and would definitely think that you are a successor nurtured by the Saint Lord, allowing you to temper yourself in his lifelong realm. Although he wouldn't put you in an important position, he wouldn't go to the extent of suppressing you either. Qin Wenqian nodded. That's right, out of the 9 world palaces, one of them was already a subordinate of ancient Emperor Yi. He also didn't hide his God's hand when he used it. The lifelong realm would definitely think that he was ancient Emperor Yi's successor and wouldn't allow him to have a high position in the lifelong realm. If not, was this lifelong realm the lifelong realm lord belonged to, or the lifelong realm belonged to ancient Emperor Yi? But since he didn't hide his God's hand, the lifelong realm would definitely think that he was someone arranged by ancient Emperor Yi. They naturally wouldn't do anything to him. When he thought of this, a strange expression appeared on Qin Wenqian's face. He didn't expect that using God's hand would actually cause such complicated karma. Are you very depressed? The Gemini Palace Lord laughed. Qin Wenqian bitterly smiled and shook his head. I just didn't expect this. One of the Palace Lords stretched out his hand and patted Qin Wenqian on his shoulder. We will definitely inform the Saint Lord about your matter. It's just that we have no idea where the Saint Lord has gone to right now. Let's exchange our immortal senses first. If you encounter any trouble in the future, you can ask me for help. As he spoke, he took out his messaging crystal. Qin Wenqian did the same, and the 3 of them exchanged their immortal senses. This way, if they wanted to contact each other in the future, they would be able to do so through their messaging crystals. The 3 of them chatted for a while more before Qin Wenqian bid his farewell and returned to his own palace to rest. Nothing happened that night. On the second day, the palace lords of the 9 world palaces brought their serving girls with them and left to report to the Realm Lord. Qin Wenqian and the others still remained in the palace. Qin Wenqian, who was resting with his eyes closed, suddenly heard a commotion. His immortal sense gushed out as he stood up. His silhouette flashed, and an instant later, he appeared outside Beauty Zhao's palace. Many people had barged in, and the person leading them was none other than the person whom Qin Wenqian had defeated before, the northern governor of Lifelong City, Xiao Yu. Other than them, many other governors and monarchs of the Lifefire Palace also came here. When they saw the situation here, the charming smile on Beauty Zhao's face disappeared. Her expression was filled with coldness and stubbornness as she stared at the group of people who just appeared. I'm a governor of the Lifefire Palace. Aren't you guys violating the rules by barging in like this? Beauty Zhao coldly spoke. We are here to see the juniors of our clan. Would the Lifefire Empyrean have any objections? An elder behind Xiao Yu walked out, coldly staring at Beauty Zhao. Who is your junior? Beauty Zhao coldly spoke. You don't even want to acknowledge your ancestors. That elder's eyes gleamed with coldness. I heard that during these years, your actions in Lifefire City have been extremely unrestrained. You might not find it embarrassing, but my Xiao clan of the Sword Spirit sect can't afford to lose face like this. Although the Sword Spirit sect was a sect, it could also be considered a clan. Right now, the Sword Spirit sect was controlled by 2 major clans. One of them was none other than the Xiao clan. However, the Sword Spirit sect wouldn't reject outsiders from joining. The governor of Lifefire City, Beauty Zhao, was also someone from the Xiao clan. A look of surprise appeared on Qin Wenqian's face. As for the other monarchs and governors of Lifefire City, their expressions were normal. Clearly, they already knew about this. I've long had no relationship with you guys. There's no need for you guys to interfere in my actions. Beauty Zhao coldly spoke. Slut. Xiao Yu coldly spat out, his tone was extremely sharp. Back then when the clan arranged a marriage for you, you didn't agree and insisted on following a trash. The clan killed him for you because it was out of consideration for you. I didn't expect you to be so shameless now, throwing away the face of our Shao clan. Yet, you still refuse to admit your guilt. Beauty Zhao's expression instantly turned ashen. She stared at Xiao Yu. In terms of seniority, I can be considered your elder. How can you speak to me like this? How can such a lowly person be qualified to be my elder? Coldness radiated from Xiao Yu. He took a step out, wanting to attack Beauty Zhao. This is the lifelong Saint Hall. You dare. Beauty Zhao's expression changed. Since you wanted to break away from my Shao clan, you were also expelled back then. If my Shao clan teaches an unfilial person a lesson, the Realm Lord wouldn't say anything. Xiao Yu coldly spoke. His palm stretched out, transforming into a giant palm imprint that blasted towards Beauty Zhao. Beauty Zhao's expression changed. She stabbed out with her fingers, actually wanting to fight here. Both of them were governors. Qin Wentian similarly radiated coldness. You appeared on the platform for Yi Qianyu. I initially thought that your feelings for Yi Qianyu were very deep. Who would have thought that you would also want such a slut? Xiao Yu laughed loudly. Beauty Zhao was continuously humiliated. Her countenance turned pale. She stared at Qin Wentian, yet Qin Wentian's expression didn't change at all. He merely spat out a single word, scram. Xiao Yu and the others had unsightly expressions on their faces. After that, they coldly stared at Qin Wentian. Let's hope Governor Qin knows his place. After speaking, the people of the Shao clan flicked their sleeves and departed. Chapter 1633. After the people from the Sword Spirit sect left, the monarchs and governors of the Lifire Palace all stared at Qin Wentian and Beauty Zhao. When did these two get together? Seems like not only did Governor Qin gain fame and fortune, you even managed to hug a beauty. Yin Qiu spoke in a neutral tone. When he saw Beauty Zhao's alluring figure leaning against Qin Wentian, he couldn't help but feel a sense of discomfort. The vixen he had been drooling over for so many years was actually obtained by Qin Wentian. Your colleague is being humiliated, but you still chose to watch from the sidelines. No wonder Governor Xiao doesn't like you. Qin Wentian mocked. Beauty Zhao moved away from Qin Wentian and bowed to Qin Wentian. Many thanks to Governor Qin for helping me out. This is what I should do. Qin Wentian calmly spoke. The monarchs and governors of the Lifire Palace froze. Could it be that there was no relationship between them and Qin Wentian was the one who stood up for them? Governor Qin, please enter the courtyard for a chat. Beauty Zhao gently smiled. After that, she coldly glanced at the others. A moment later, all of them had smiles on their faces as they left with some embarrassment. Even Yin Qiu left unhappily. Qin Wentian followed Beauty Zhao into the courtyard. Beauty Zhao directly took out a treasure and sealed the courtyard. Her hands directly hooked around Qin Wentian's neck as her alluring eyes shone. Thank you. Beauty Zhao gently spoke. It's what I should do. Qin Wentian shifted his gaze away. Beauty Zhao smiled charmingly when she saw Qin Wentian's expression. Her sexy robes slid down. Qin Wentian turned his head and glanced at her alluring figure. What are you doing? Want me? Beauty Zhao leaped onto Qin Wentian's body, her legs wrapped around Qin Wentian's waist. Her hands hugged Qin Wentian's head, while Qin Wentian's head sank into her chest, sinking into an endless abyss. You are crazy. Qin Wentian's breathing quickened as he raised his head to look at Beauty Zhao. I know you already have someone in your heart. I won't ask anything of you, but don't reject me. Beauty Zhao lowered her head, her eyes were filled with charm. Qin Wentian was speechless. He then carried her into the room and a great battle ensued. After several battles, Qin Wentian sat in the courtyard and pondered. He sighed in his heart. After all, they had been acquainted once. It was still impossible for him to treat them as strangers. Beauty Zhao's sexy body leaned against Qin Wentian as she sat down. She rested her head on Qin Wentian's shoulder as she asked in a low voice, "Do you think I'm a slut just like what the people of the Shao clan said?" Without waiting for Qin Wentian's reply, Beauty Zhao continued, "Once, I was also a young miss of the Shao clan. I was dignified and virtuous, and my upbringing was extremely strict." She then cast a deep glance at the transcendent aura of the lifelong Realm Lord. After all, he was a major character. Even with Qin Wentian's dazzling performance, she still couldn't obtain any respect. When she thought of the voice transmission that Qin Wentian sent her through his messaging crystal, Yi Qianyu's expression gradually changed. All of a sudden, a radiant smile appeared in Yi Qianyu's eyes. At this moment, she was filled with boundless charm. "Yes, Realm Lord." Yi Qianyu smiled sweetly, causing the eyes of the lifelong Realm Lord to flash. After that, he saw that sexy figure of hers twisting and turning as she danced once more. Every movement of hers was filled with boundless charm. Yi Qianyu's beautiful eyes were still filled with a smile, adding to her charm. However, right now, her heart was as calm as still water, as cold as ice. Regardless of the lifelong Realm Lord or the Life-Fire Empyrean, they would eventually pay the price for seeing through Qin Wentian. It has only been a few tens of years and the Life-Fire Empyrean already felt threatened. In the future, the lifelong Realm Lord would feel the same as well. Another person came over, walking towards the lifelong Realm Lord and bowing. "These are the dossiers that the Life-Fire Palace has organized." The lifelong Realm Lord nodded lightly. His gaze shifted away from Yi Qianyu and lowered his head to read through the dossiers. Not long after, a look of bewilderment flashed in his eyes. Princess Kitamura, Qin Wentian, apprentice sister and brother. If this was the case, what relationship did Princess Kitamura have with Yi? Could she also be Yi's successor? If she was truly Yi's successor, why would she be forced into such a state by the Jialan monarch? Could it be that Yi allowed them to roam the lifelong Realm Lord's world freely? As he read through the dossiers, the bewilderment in the lifelong Realm Lord's heart grew even deeper. After he finished reading, Yi Qianyu's dance also halted. He spoke to the person beside him, "Send a message to the Life-Fire Empyrean, tell him to summon Princess Kitamura to the lifelong Saint Hall." "Yes." That person nodded and retreated. The lifelong Realm Lord inclined his head and glanced at Yi Qianyu and the maidens of the Red Dust Immortal Palace. "You guys can remain in the lifelong Saint Hall to atone for your crimes and wait for my summons." "Yes." Everyone didn't dare to object. They all bowed and replied. Yi Qianyu continued standing there, watching as the lifelong Realm Lord stood up and left. Her beautiful eyes inclined and stared into the distance as a smile flickered in her eyes. The person she was waiting for, when would he truly be able to prop up this sky? Chapter 1634. In Life-Fire City, after Qin Wentian and the others returned, the news of what happened in the lifelong realm also circulated around. The weaponsmithing Grandmaster Di Tian had outstanding talent and obtained first place in the martial competition with a cultivation base at the mid-stage of the Immortal Emperor realm. The lifelong Realm Lord personally rewarded him and exempted the Emperor Pavilion from paying any taxes. No one was allowed to affect the Emperor Pavilion's development. When this news circulated out, Life-Fire City was shaken. Everyone knew that the rise of the Emperor Pavilion was already unstoppable. There would no longer be any obstructions. Those who once doubted Di Tian's strength only felt ashamed. As for those who supported Di Tian, they all flaunted their brilliance everywhere. Some people even brought up the matter of Lu Feibai from the Lu clan challenging Di Tian, mocking Lu Feibai for not knowing his own limits. An ant-like character actually dared to challenge Grandmaster Di Tian, saying that he wasn't even qualified to carry Grandmaster Di Tian's shoes. All sorts of ugly words caused Lu Feibai to be humiliated everywhere, becoming a villain. At the same time, many major powers went to the Emperor Pavilion to pay a visit, preparing to form a good relationship with Grandmaster Di Tian. However, the Emperor Pavilion sent out news that Grandmaster Di Tian was going to hold a banquet and invited all the major powers. Other than this, the other shocking news was naturally the northern governor Qin Wentian. That white-robed governor who exuded magnificence through the generations had killed over 10 immortal emperors in a single battle. In the lifelong realm, he saved Lifire City from humiliation and used his strength to challenge the 8 governors of the 9 world palaces. In the final battle, he fought 1 against 2, his magnificence through the generations, causing his name to resound through the world. However, the white-robed governor Qin Wentian who returned to Lifire City was as low-profile as ever. He stayed in his governor's manor and didn't receive any guests. Di Tian and Qin Wentian became the 2 legendary characters of Lifire City. Today, in the central city regions, the Emperor Pavilion hosted a banquet to welcome the visiting powers. In fact, many governor manors were invited. For example, the eastern governor Lin Ba, the southern governor Beauty Xiao, the western governor Yin Qiu, and even the grand governor Zhuge Xiong. There were only 2 governors he didn't invite, the northern governor Qin Wentian. These 2 were similarly outstanding characters. Many people guessed that maybe Qin Wentian didn't need to give face to Di Tian. He wasn't inferior to Di Tian, hence, Di Tian didn't invite him. There were others who said that the 2 were vaguely competing against each other. They were both exceptional geniuses and couldn't accept the other. Naturally, no one could verify these conjectures. However, there was another matter that was very interesting. The governor of the central governor's manor, Xia Ho, actually didn't receive an invitation. Thinking back to the matters of the past, everyone felt that it was extremely thought-provoking. Back then, the scandal of the central governor's manor caused a commotion. Who didn't know that Governor Xia Ho wanted to deal with the Emperor Pavilion? Now, Grandmaster Di was smacking Governor Xia Ho's face. In the Emperor Pavilion, the banquet has already been prepared and was filled to the brim. Not only for the people from the central governor's manor, many major powers from the various regions of Lifire City also came to pay their respects. After all, the future of the Emperor Pavilion could already be foreseen. Even the Realm Lord personally spoke. In addition to Di Tian's combat prowess and weaponsmithing prowess, if the Emperor Pavilion didn't develop, it would truly be unreasonable. Today, the people of the Mo clan were all extremely excited. The Mo clan leader, Mo Ting, personally led the members of the Mo clan here to attend the banquet. Mo Ting, his daughter Mo Junyi, and an elder of the Mo clan, Mo Fei, were all seated at the main seats. Everyone knew that Mo Fei and Mo Junyi had always been the left and right arms of Grandmaster Di, and the Mo clan had always been supporting Grandmaster Di. Now that Grandmaster Di finally rose to glory, the Mo clan would naturally bask in his glory as well. Upon seeing so many major powers sitting below, Mo Ting had a radiant smile on his face. He silently sighed in his heart at how wise his decision back then was. As the saying goes, sending charcoal in snowy weather is the most precious. Right now, there were so many people who were willing to add flowers to embroidery. Di Tian sat at the highest seat. After the banquet was prepared, he toasted everyone. Di, thank everyone for coming. I also thank Grand Governor Zhuge and the other governors for coming. Grandmaster Di is too polite. Governor Di, we are all colleagues, there's no need to be so polite. Lin Ba laughed. As for Beauty Xiao, she was very obedient today, she merely sat there with a smile on her face and didn't try to seduce Di Tian. Seems like her promise to Qin Wentian was true. In the future, she would only seduce Qin Wentian. Although I'm indebted to the Realm Lord's love and am appointed as the supervisory commander, in truth, it's just an idle position. My interest is still in the Emperor Pavilion, and I hope that everyone would be able to help me out in the future. Di Tian, who was wearing a mask, exuded a mysterious aura. He was clad in black and his entire person radiated sharpness. Naturally, Grandmaster D's Emperor Pavilion is a transcendent power after all. We still have to depend on the Emperor Pavilion. Someone laughed loudly. That's right, the divine weapons forged by Grandmaster D are all peerless. In the future, Grandmaster D mustn't stop. We all want to auction off one of Grandmaster D's divine weapons. Everyone spoke one after another, and their tones were extremely polite. That's only natural. I will continue to forge divine weapons, it's just that the frequency of my forging won't be as high as before. After all, if my strength doesn't rise, would eventually encounter a bottleneck in my forging. D. Tian smiled as everyone nodded. Is your strength still lacking? Mo Junyi, who was at the side, rolled her eyes at D. Tian. D. Tian stared at her and laughed. Huh, Grandmaster D is too humble. The eyes of many turned to Mo Junyi. Some of them had a bright light in their eyes as they laughed. Grandmaster D and Princess Mo are truly a perfect match, a match made in heaven and earth. I can see that Princess Mo's eyes are filled with love when she looks at Grandmaster D. This seemed like a joke, but there was a deep meaning within. And as expected, after hearing this, the eyes of the Mo clan leader, Mo Ting, gleamed sharply as he smiled at the person who spoke. Mo Junyi blushed as she spoke. You guys better not use me as a joke. Ha, that's what I feel. That person continued speaking in a half-joking manner. How could D. Tian not understand the thoughts of these people? If there really was something going on between him and Mo Junyi, this person's words would undoubtedly cause the Mo clan to have a good impression of him. However, there were also some people who were unhappy. These people were none other than the Jialan clan. Today, the Jialan clan also came to attend the banquet and Jialan Chuyue was present as well. Yeah, they are truly a good match. A gentle voice rang out. The gazes of everyone turned over only to see Jialan Chuyue's breathtakingly beautiful countenance. They only saw Jialan Chuyue smiling at D. Tian, her beautiful eyes flashing with a hint of coquettishness. This scene caused everyone to be stunned. The person who spoke earlier laughed. I spoke too much, I'm just joking, I hope you don't take it to heart. As the sound of his voice faded, the people from the Mo clan coldly stared at him. After that, that person broke out in cold sweat and even had the heart to die. His bootlicking was at the wrong place. What a melodramatic plot. Who would have thought that the young miss of the Jialan clan would actually be secretly in love with Grandmaster D? If he knew about this earlier, he wouldn't have dared to fart here even if he was given a few more guts. Many people felt their hearts trembling. Right now, this Grandmaster D was truly a hot commodity, having the favor of so many peak-level beauties. Right now, the young miss of the Jialan clan, the peak-level beauty of Lifire City, Jialan Chuyue, was currently staring at the young miss of the Mo clan, Mo Junyi. Their gazes collided, causing sparks to fly. Such good fortune, hee. D. Tian sweated. He coughed and spoke. Right now, the Emperor Pavilion is still in its development phase. I, D, have not considered the matters of love yet. As the sound of his voice faded, two gazes filled with hidden bitterness turned to him. D. Tian felt his head swelling, silently musing at the fact that beauties nowadays were all so unreserved. In truth, one couldn't blame Jialan Chuyue and Mo Junyi for not being reserved. They wanted to be reserved, but they met their match. When women were together with other women, their jealousy would naturally be extremely strong. No matter what, they mustn't show any weakness. Hence, they temporarily forgot about being reserved. Seems like Grandmaster D will have the fortune of having multiple lovers. Many people stared at D. Tian with a meaningful look in their eyes. Outstanding people, as expected, all beauties would take the initiative. The disparity between people was truly too great. D. Tian acted as though he didn't see the gazes of the two beauties. He continued, I'm sure everyone knows a little about the history of the Emperor Pavilion's development. Back then, the Emperor Pavilion almost suffered a calamity and ceased to exist. Even now, I, D, still feel a lingering fear. The eyes of everyone flashed when they heard Di Tian's words. All of them retracted their joking expressions and became serious. Grand Master Di bringing up this matter at this moment, what did he mean by that? Back then, it was precisely at this location where my Emperor Pavilion was in its development phase, exploring step by step. However, all of a sudden, we encountered a mysterious power's provocation. The experts who were auctioning treasures from my Emperor Pavilion were actually robbed, and the people who came to trade with my Emperor Pavilion also encountered all sorts of troubles. At that time, the people who came to trade with my Emperor Pavilion were all filled with fear and anxiety, causing the morale of the Emperor Pavilion to plummet. At that time, my Emperor Pavilion paid a tribute to a first-tier power, and even the governor's manor couldn't find out anything. Di Tian's tone turned solemn. The eyes of the governors gleamed with sharpness. What was Di Tian trying to do by bringing up the past? After that, although this matter was resolved, it's still extremely strange. Back then, who were the powers that acted against my Emperor Pavilion in the dark? Di Tian's tone gradually turned sharp as sharpness flickered in his eyes. Those powers used such sinister methods to deal with my Emperor Pavilion, they would naturally act against others as well. This isn't beneficial to the development of the various powers in Lifefire City. Right now, I'm highly regarded by the Realm Lord and was given the position of the Supervisory Commander. I'm prepared to investigate this matter once more. What does everyone think? The hearts of everyone trembled. Di Tian had mentioned twice that he was highly regarded by the Realm Lord and was given the position of Supervisory Commander. Clearly, he was using this opportunity to tell everyone that he was someone from the Realm Lord's faction. Right now, Grandmaster Di, who had confidence, was finally going to settle the debt. The moment he returned, he was already planning to do so. Truly, revenge can't be delayed overnight. The eyes of Zhuge Xiong and the other governors flashed. They all understood in their hearts that this matter also implicated Governor Xiaohou. Did Qin Wentian mean that Di Tian was preparing to settle this debt together? Before this, the Lifefire Empyrean had hoped that they could let go of their grudges. But now, it seemed like Di Tian wanted to challenge his authority. If it was just Di Tian and Xiaohou, it would still be easy to choose. But the most crucial thing was that the Lifefire Empyrean was here as well. Although the Lifefire Empyrean didn't say it clearly, he already made Xiaohou apologize in the Lifelong Saint Hall. Evidently, he hoped that the matter back then would be forgotten. Right now, Di Tian seemed to be unwilling and wanted to investigate this matter no matter what. Governor Di, I agree with this matter. It's just that Xiaohou is after all the governor of Lifefire City. I wonder what the Lifefire Empyrean's attitude would be. If you don't target Xiaohou, I can directly tell you. Di Tian transmitted his voice to Di Tian, his words causing sharpness to flash through Di Tian's eyes. This old fox. Di Tian ignored Zhuge Xiong's voice transmission and directly spoke, Grand Governor, I'm under the orders of the Lifelong Realm Lord to be the Supervisory Commander. Even if this matter didn't happen to my Emperor Pavilion, I will definitely investigate this matter clearly. Our Lifefire City cannot allow such vermin to exist. Since I know about this matter, if I don't investigate it, how can I face the Realm Lord's love for me? Zhuge Xiong cursed in his heart. This bastard, he directly bypassed the Lifefire Empyrean and directly talked about the Realm Lord. He truly knew how to use his connections to intimidate others. In addition, this Di Tian truly wasn't afraid of the Lifefire Empyrean. Before he headed to the Lifelong Realm, his relationship with the Jialan clan was already very close. Clearly, he was roped in by the Jialan clan. Right now, the people of the Jialan clan were also present at this banquet. How would this Di Tian care about the Lifefire Empyrean's opinion? The Realm Lord has personally spoken. As long as Di Tian doesn't do anything disgraceful, he can do whatever he wants in Lifefire City. No one would dare to touch him, including the Li-Fire Empyrean. Right now, he said that he wanted to investigate Xia Ho and even brought out the lifelong Realm Lord's name. Even the Li-Fire Empyrean couldn't say anything. Could it be that he would really offend Di Tian to death and drive him to the Jialan clan? Zhuge Xiong guessed that the Li-Fire Empyrean would most probably allow Di Tian and Xia Ho to fight, he wouldn't interfere. What do you guys think? Zhuge Xiong glanced at Lin Ba, Beauty Xiao and Yin Qiu. This caused Lin Ba and Yin Qiu to silently curse in their hearts. I feel that we should support Grandmaster Di. Since Grandmaster Di is the supervisory commander, he does have the authority to investigate this matter. Also, there's nothing in the governor's manor of our Li-Fire city that can't be revealed. Lin Ba spoke with a strong sense of righteousness, causing Zhuge Xiong to feel somewhat taken aback. Lin Ba actually directly supported Di Tian. However, he understood after thinking about it. Among the 5 governors of Li-Fire city, Qin Wentian was a special existence. He was already very unhappy with Xia Ho. Other than Qin Wentian, Xia Ho was the strongest and Lin Ba was second. If Xia Ho fell, Lin Ba's status would naturally be even higher. Also, if he could obtain Di Tian's friendship, why not? As for Xia Ho, both Di Tian and Qin Wentian wanted to deal with him at the same time. Xia Ho wouldn't be able to continue jumping around for long. I also support Grandmaster Di. Beauty Xiao giggled, expressing her support with no hesitation. Her charming eyes stared at Di Tian. Zhuge Xiong thought that she wanted to seduce Di Tian and didn't feel strange. The matters of the past have already been investigated. Governor Di, there's no need to investigate anymore. Yin Qiu calmly spoke, his voice could be considered friendly. Di Tian's gaze landed on Yin Qiu as he spoke, since Governor Yin Qiu thinks this way, please do as you please. Since we walk different paths, we can't make plans together. Yin Qiu's expression instantly froze. He didn't expect Di Tian to be so domineering. His tone was already extremely calm, but just because he didn't agree with Di Tian's opinion, Di Tian directly chased him away. Zhuge Xiong and the others here were all shocked. What a domineering Grandmaster Di. Lin Ba and Beauty Xiao smiled at Yin Qiu, traces of sympathy could be seen in their eyes. This fellow didn't seem to be able to see the situation clearly. Governor Di, I only. Yin Qiu faintly felt regret. Governor Yin Qiu, please. Di Tian waved his hands, showing no mercy at all. Yin Qiu's lips twitched. After that, he stood up and left with a heavy expression on his face. Being chased away like this, one could very well imagine how terrible his mood was right now. Although Governor Qin didn't come, I believe that he would definitely agree with my opinion. Di Tian slowly spoke. Zhuge Xiong's eyes flashed. If Di Tian wanted to deal with Xia Ho, Qin Wentian would naturally agree. Since this is the case, if Governor Di has any needs, I will do my best to cooperate. Zhuge Xiong slowly spoke. In that case, I will have to thank Governor Zhuge then. Di Tian smiled and nodded. After that, he raised his cup and spoke to everyone, since everyone is willing to do their best to help me, let me toast to all of you. The eyes of the experts flashed, each of them had their own worries in their hearts. Next, there would surely be a storm in the central city regions of Li-Fire city. Not long after the banquet ended, the news of what happened at the Emperor Pavilion was already circulated to the central governor's manor. A thunderous boom rang out in the great hall. The table beside Xia Ho directly shattered into pieces. The veins on his face bulged as his killing intent gushed forth. What a good Di Tian. Zhuge Xiong, Lin Ba, Beauty Xiao. Xia Ho's body trembled. One could very well imagine the anger he was feeling right now. Other than anger, there was also a hint of trepidation. Di Tian held a banquet in front of everyone and even asked the governors to express their stance. This meant that Di Tian was determined to act against him. Given Di Tian's current strength, he, Xia Ho, might really die in Di Tian's hands. Lord Governor, what should we do? A vice-governor asked. Back then, this vice-governor had gone to the Emperor Pavilion several times. At that time, he felt that Di Tian was courting death by not giving face to Xia Ho. But now, they actually started to fear Di Tian. This was truly ironic. We didn't do anything. So what if Di Tian investigates? Xia Ho coldly glanced at him. His cold eyes flickered with a hint of threat. Clearly, he wanted the vice-governor to pay attention to his words in the future and not leak any information. Your subordinate knows his mistake. That vice-governor bowed. Go down and warn your subordinates not to speak recklessly. I will report this to the Li-Fire Empyrean. This Di Tian is truly lawless. Xia Ho calmly spoke. After that vice-governor bade farewell and left, preparing to issue a gag order to those who knew the truth. Not only for Xia Ho's governor's manor, the Yen clan, Han clan and Wei clan were also holding an emergency meeting. The current Di Tian was no longer the Emperor Pavilion Lord Di Tian of the past. The him now was extremely domineering and truly had the power to destroy them. If he really wanted to investigate, no one knew what would happen if they were implicated. After several days, many people came to the central governor's manor. These people were none other than Di Tian and the people from the Emperor Pavilion. Other than them, there were also people from Zhuge Xiong's faction. Governor Di, what do you mean by this? The moment Di Tian arrived, Xia Ho personally walked out, blocking Di Tian outside. His expression was heavy. He went to the Li-Fire Empyrean to look for him but he was rejected. The Violet Moon Immortal transmitted a message to him, telling him that he would be responsible for what he did. This meant that the Li-Fire Empyrean wasn't planning to interfere and he could only depend on himself to deal with Di Tian. Governor Xia Ho, I still have some doubts regarding what happened to my Emperor Pavilion in the past. I need to look for people from the governor's manor to understand the situation. Di Tian spoke. Fine, I can call them over. If Governor Di wants to understand the situation, I can get them to cooperate. Xia Ho stared at Di Tian. I want to bring them to the Emperor Pavilion. I've already reported this to the Empyrean. There's no need for me to establish a new supervisory governor's manor, it's set to be in the Emperor Pavilion. Di Tian spoke. This won't do. They all have important matters to attend to and don't have so much time. Xia Ho rejected. This is the supervisory commander's command token. Di Tian took out a command token. There were large golden words engraved on it, similar to the governor's command token. However, the word supervisory was engraved on it. If there's anyone who dares to obstruct me from carrying out my supervisory duties, that would be considered a form of disrespect to the lifelong Saint Hall. I can act first and report later. Di Tian calmly spoke. For a moment, a terrifying might bore down on him. His immortal sense enveloped the governor's manor as he spoke. Di Tian, the supervisory commander, summon all the vice-governors and attendants of the northern city regions. For those who hear this, come over immediately. If not, you will be treated as a crime of disrespect and be killed without mercy. His voice was like thunder, reverberating through the air, causing the hearts of countless people to tremble. Chapter 1636. Xia Ho's expression turned heavy as the pressure he exuded was terrifying. The many vice-governors and attendants also understood that Di Tian was borrowing the Realm Lord's power. Disobey. Kill without mercy. Who gave him such great authority? He was using his position as the supervisory commander to seek revenge. However, he had a good reason to do so. If someone disobeyed, what if Di Tian really killed them? Given Di Tian's combat prowess as the top ranker in the martial competition, most probably Governor Xia Ho wouldn't be able to stop him. Governor Di, what do you treat my governor's manner as? Xia Ho's face turned ashen. If it wasn't for the fact that he knew he wouldn't be able to win against Di Tian, he would have directly started a fight. This is my duty. If this matter is investigated thoroughly, I will naturally allow them to return. I won't make things difficult for them. Di Tian spoke. Xia Ho's expression turned heavy. If these people were brought back to the Emperor Pavilion, there would definitely be trouble. Now that they were in Di Tian's territory, wouldn't he be the one who had the final say? Who knows what methods you will use? Xia Ho coldly spoke. This time around, I've invited the Grand Governor's personal guard to testify. There are also people from the various governor manors. They will bear witness to the entire process. Guard Yun, tell Governor Xia Ho about this. Di Tian spoke. An immortal emperor walked out from the side. Xia Ho glanced at him with an unsightly expression. He naturally knew who the head guard of the Grand Governor Zhuge Xiong was. Governor Xia Ho, the Grand Governor believes that Governor Di will investigate this matter impartially. He hopes that Governor Xia Ho will cooperate. Guard Yun spoke. Xia Ho's hands trembled, he was angered to the extreme. Right now, did the Grand Governor Zhuge Xiong already publicly stand on Di Tian's side? Governor Xia Ho, I've already given you face. If you continue to obstruct me from doing things, don't blame me for being impolite. Di Tian directly threatened. I'll only give the vice-governors and attendants of the governor's manor the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. If they don't come, I'll go in myself. The central governor's manor was completely shaken. Di Tian was too overbearing, the Li-Fire Empyrean didn't care, and even the Grand Governor, Zhuge Xiong, stood on Di Tian's side. As for the other governors, other than Yin Xiu, who was expelled by Di Tian because he spoke out for Governor Xia Ho, the other governors all supported Di Tian. The situation was completely one-sided. More and more people came here, they were all vice-governors and attendants of the governor's manor. Di Tian was too domineering, they didn't dare to not come. If not, even their Lord Governor Xia Ho might not be able to protect them. Seeing everyone appear, Xia Ho clenched his fists tightly, feeling extremely aggrieved. Not long after, the people who should have come were all here. Di Tian glanced at them and spoke, many thanks for everyone's cooperation. Since all of you are vice-governors and attendants, I will naturally treat you politely. Follow me to the Emperor Pavilion. Qin Wentian said and turned around. He was indeed very polite. Everyone glanced at Xia Ho. Xia Ho glanced at a few of them with a hint of warning in his eyes. Governor Xia Ho, back then when you came to my Emperor Pavilion, were you like me today? A voice rang out in Xia Ho's mind. It was Di Tian's voice transmission. Cracking sounds rang out, Xia Ho clenched his fists even tighter. Clearly, Di Tian came here for revenge. Di Tian brought Qin Wentian away. The news of this rapidly circulated around the central city regions. This Grand Master Di Tian was truly tyrannical, incomparably domineering, directly heading to the central governor's manor to capture Qin Wentian. In the Emperor Pavilion, the vice-governors and attendants of the central governor's manor were all brought here. The experts in the surroundings were as common as the clouds, causing them to feel immense pressure. Di Tian glanced at everyone as he spoke, I'm sure everyone has heard of the incident that happened in the Emperor Pavilion back then. Let me ask all of you, does anyone know who the mastermind is? Everyone stared at Di Tian. This fellow truly wasn't reserved at all, he was actually so direct with his questions, not beating around the bush at all, getting straight to the point. Naturally, no one replied. How could they say this out loud? It's fine if you guys don't want to speak. But if in the future, I find out who the mastermind is and there's someone who doesn't report. Di Tian smiled at everyone. Cripple that person's cultivation base. Many people felt their hearts trembling, but they still maintained their calm on the surface. If they didn't say anything, they didn't believe that Di Tian would know. I'll give you all the time it takes for an incense stick to burn to consider. For those who know, just take a step forward. Di Tian laughed. After that, he stood up from his seat and paced back and forth as though nothing had happened. He glanced at Mo Junyi who was at the side and asked, "Has the person from the northern governor's manor not been invited over yet?" "Governor Qin has agreed, he's already here." Mo Junyi replied. "Emicham, quickly invite him over." Di Tian spoke. Mo Junyi walked out and an instant later, she returned. Not only that, beside her, there was a terrifying lion that exuded an imposingness. The eyes of this lion gleamed with a jade-green light. That jade-green eyes of his swept over everyone, causing the hearts of everyone to tremble. Even their souls were trembling, as though they were no longer under their control. "Senior Evil Emperor, thank you for your hard work." Di Tian politely spoke. This lion was none other than the Evil Emperor. Grandmaster Di Tian had already made his preparations. From the start to the end, Xia Ho had no way to resist at all. Numerous voices rang out in the ears of Di Tian and Guard Yun. After that, Di Tian and Guard Yun communicated via voice transmission. After that, Di Tian's eyes flashed with a cold smile as he continued to ask, "In that case, Governor Xia Ho already knows everything. Although he didn't take the initiative to act, in truth, both parties have already colluded. Am I right?" The attendants exchanged glances as they continued to transmit their voices. Di Tian's eyes were cold. Finally, he turned to the Evil Emperor and spoke, "Senior Evil Emperor, can I trouble you to control this attendant and ask him if his words earlier are true? Did they send voice transmissions to each other to lie to me and Guard Yun?" The Evil Emperor's jade-green eyes turned to the weakest attendant, a peak-stage Immortal King. Very swiftly, he controlled that attendant and questioned him. That attendant was very honest, everything he said was the truth. Since this is the case, the evidence is clear. Let me report what everyone told me and Guard Yun earlier. Back then, the Yen clan, Han clan and Wei clan of the central city regions paid a visit to Governor Xia Ho and joined forces to deal with my Emperor Pavilion. The city lord manor pretended to investigate but in truth, they didn't do anything. In fact, they even secretly sent news to the 3 aristocratic clans. Am I right? If there's a problem with what I said, please correct me. Di Tian slowly spoke. Nobody refuted him. The others all felt shock in their hearts as a voice rang out in their hearts. Governor Xia Ho was finished. This Di Tian was determined to take revenge on him. And now, the evidence was clear. There are people from the various governors' manors here, including the Grand Governor himself. Since the truth is clear, what do you all think? Di Tian stared at everyone as he spoke. We have to report this matter to the Lord Governor. Guard Yun and the others spoke. Di Tian nodded, allowing them to make the report. A moment later, Guard Yun replied, the Grand Governor said that he will immediately report this matter to the Empyrean. As for the 3 aristocratic clans, the Grand Governor said that from now on, they are to be forbidden from expanding their power in Lifire City forever and all the businesses they control will be shut down. I have no objections to the Grand Governor's suggestion. As for the matter regarding Governor Xia Ho, I will wait for the Empyrean's orders and see how the Empyrean would reply to the Grand Governor. As for the other 3 aristocratic clans, they have already violated the laws of the Governor's manor. Not only will their businesses be shut down, they will also be confiscated. Di Tian laughed, but his eyes gleamed with coldness. Everyone here felt their hearts trembling when they heard this. They all understood that Governor Xia Ho was finished. The 3 aristocratic clans were in dire straits as well. Back then, the 3 aristocratic clans offended Grandmaster Di and wanted to annihilate the Emperor Pavilion. Given Grandmaster Di's personality, he most probably wouldn't show mercy. Governor Di Tian, when we return to the Lifire Palace, the Empyrean will naturally punish you heavily. What do you think? Protector Chen glanced at Di Tian as he asked. No matter what decision Palace Lord makes, Di Tian will naturally respect it. Let's just do as Palace Lord says. Di Tian smiled. Although he knew that nothing would happen to Xia Ho after he went to the Lifire Empyrean, at the very least, the Lifire Empyrean still put on an act for him to see. After crippling Xia Ho's future, it wouldn't be good for him to be overbearing and go against the Lifire Empyrean. Yes. Protector Chen nodded and said, Xia Ho, come with us. Xia Ho didn't say anything. He followed Protector Chen and prepared to leave. His extremely cold gaze swept towards Di Tian, and his killing intent was not concealed at all. Governor Ji, you will temporarily act as the governor and do your best to cooperate with Governor Di. Zhuge Xiong spoke to his former vice-governor, Ji Luo. Ji Luo nodded, yes, Grand Governor. Zhuge Xiong also brought his men and followed after Protector Chen. Di Tian glanced at Ji Yao, Governor Ji, immediately gather everyone in the governor's manor. Your subordinate obeys. Ji Yao clasped his hands. Governor Ji, now you are already the acting governor. You can just refer to me as Governor Di. Di Tian laughed. Ji Yao started and nodded his head, but he was cursing in his heart. This fellow managed to crush Xia Ho so easily, how would he dare to be careless? Everyone from the central governor's manor, gather immediately. Ji Yao roared. In an instant, the various vice-governors and attendants all moved, gathering their subordinates and reorganizing their troops. None of them dared to be slow. Right now, no one dared to offend Di Tian. Di Tian stared at the experts below. The army of the central governor's manor was much stronger compared to the northern governor's manor. Governor Ji, instruct the 3 vice-governors to each lead an army and head towards the 3 aristocrat clans, the Yan clan, Han clan and Wei clan. Surround the 3 aristocrat clans and no one is allowed to enter or leave. Cooperate with the governor's manor and if anyone dares to disobey, kill them without mercy. Di Tian calmly spoke. Although the strength of the 3 aristocrat clans was very strong, if the governor's manor directly surrounded them, they wouldn't dare to do anything. In truth, Qin Wentian wanted nothing more than for them to do something. If that's the case, he would have a chance to capture all of them in one fell swoop. Back then, the 3 aristocrat clans didn't intend to spare his emperor pavilion. Di Tian naturally wouldn't be merciful now. Ji Yao instructed the 3 vice-governors to move out, heading towards the location where the 3 aristocrat clans were located. At the same time, Di Tian instructed the other governors to head to the businesses of the 3 aristocrat clans to seize them. Di Tian also headed there personally, just like how Qin Wentian dealt with the ancient river auction house back then. The central city regions of Lifire City were shaken. Back then when the northern governor Qin Wentian dealt with the ancient river auction house, he had already caused a huge commotion. Let alone now, this matter happened in the central city regions and directly implicated the 3 aristocrat clans as well as Xia Ho. In Lifire City, all the powerful aristocrat clans would have their own businesses or how would they survive? How would they be able to sustain the expenditure of their clans? Every member of a clan needed to accumulate cultivation resources. Only then would the clan be able to grow stronger. The Yan clan was a formation-based aristocrat clan. The Han and Wei clans were a trading aristocrat clan. Their businesses were extremely large and the auction houses and transaction pavilions they controlled were the top powers in the central city regions. When the governor's manor's troops arrived, the commotion was earth-shattering. The people from the governor's manor even encountered strong resistance. However, not only did Di Tian lead his troops, he even got the support of the major powers who supported him back then during the banquet, directly suppressing them with iron blood, tying all the major powers together with his emperor pavilion. Although Di Tian obtained first place in the martial competition in Lifelong City, in truth, the strength of his Emperor Pavilion wasn't as strong as before. After all, Di Tian had just returned. If he relied on the strength of his Emperor Pavilion to deal with the 3 aristocrat clans, it would undoubtedly be akin to smashing a rock with an egg. However, Di Tian had been borrowing the strength of the 3 aristocrat clans. He was incomparably domineering, instantly causing everyone to feel that the Emperor Pavilion was a transcendent power in Lifefire City, simply unexcelled in the world. All resistance was completely suppressed. In addition, there were also many powers that wanted to kick them when they were down, including the enemies of the 3 aristocrat clans. In just a single day, the 3 aristocrat clans' businesses were instantly destroyed. All their businesses and resources that could be seized were all seized. And at this moment, within the 3 aristocrat clans, the clan leaders were all in so much pain that they wished they were dead. This time around, they had truly offended a baleful god. Initially, even if they knew that they used dishonorable methods to deal with the Emperor Pavilion, it wouldn't be a big deal. After all, in Lifefire City, such things were common. But now, they kicked the iron plate that was Di Tian, and he was determined to take revenge on them. Hence, the 3 aristocrat clans encountered a calamity. The Yen clan was surrounded so tightly that not even a drop of water could seep through. In the air, a majestic army descended from the sky. The person in the lead had a mask on and was clad in black robes. His entire person exuded a sense of mystery and sharpness. Upon staring at this figure, many people of the Yen clan thought back to the first time he stepped into the Yen clan. At that time, Di Tian was merely a junior who came to challenge the authority of the Yen clan. At that time, no one paid him any attention. It was only after Di Tian defeated the Yen clan that they started to view him with more importance. But even so, no one would have thought that there would be a day like this. He directly led his men to seize all the businesses of the Yen clan, and now, he was in a lofty position. Grandmaster Yen Feng, how have you been? Di Tian stared at an old acquaintance, Yen Feng. Yen Feng's eyes gleamed with sharpness as he stared at Di Tian. Di Tian, you are using your position as the governor to seek revenge. You will definitely suffer retribution in the future. Is that so? Di Tian mocked. You guys colluded with the original governor, Xia Ho, to deal with my Emperor Pavilion, wanting to kill me. Are you using your position to seek revenge? Grandmaster Yen Feng, I won't waste words with you. Back then when I first stepped into the Yen clan, it was extremely difficult for me to even enter the main gate. I was intercepted and had to fight a battle before I could enter. Luckily now, I don't need to go through so much trouble. Di Tian mocked. From today onwards, all the businesses of the Yen clan have been confiscated. The Yen clan is not allowed to interfere in this anymore. Other than this, the Yen clan will never be allowed to operate any businesses within the Lifefire Palace's territory again. If not, the next time we do so, it would be as simple as confiscation. You are going too far. Yen Feng raged. The people of the Yen clan all glared at Di Tian. When you guys bully me, when have you ever been merciful? Di Tian coldly spoke. In the future, all of you better behave yourselves. If you break the rules of the Lifefire Palace again, you will definitely be heavily punished. Farewell. Let's go. Di Tian waved his hands as the troops retreated, bringing everyone away. The people of the Yen clan all had ashen expressions. In this case, the Yen clan would no longer have a foothold in the Lifefire Palace. They could only move away. A powerful aristocrat clan without any businesses, they couldn't do any transactions. It was equivalent to them being ordinary unaffiliated cultivators. What could they use to maintain the expenses of the aristocrat clan? Could it be that they had to become bandits? Di Tian was clearly trying to force them to leave. In the central city regions of Lifefire City, Governor Xia Ho was stripped of his position, never to be hired again. All the businesses of the 3 aristocrat clans were confiscated, and after several days, they decided to move away from Lifire City. This caused a huge commotion, and it was all because of a single person. Grandmaster D of the Emperor Pavilion. For a period of time, Di Tian's fame was like the sun in the sky. In the entire Lifire City, no one dared to antagonize him anymore. In addition, he even issued a warning to his enemies. Regardless of whether they were governors or aristocrat clans, no one was to antagonize him. After a period of time, the Emperor Pavilion announced that they would take over the businesses of the 3 aristocrat clans and reorganize them. In addition, they would join forces with those powers that were allied with them to take over these businesses. The Emperor Pavilion would borrow manpower from them and provide them with compensation. For a period of time, a commotion broke out in the central city regions. What a good Emperor Pavilion! Not only did they suppress their enemies, they even expanded their influence. Most probably, in just a few years, the Emperor Pavilion would control the largest business in the central city regions. Also, they didn't need to pay any tributes. Just like what everyone expected, the rise of the Emperor Pavilion was unstoppable. It's just that no one expected it to be so tyrannical and so fast. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.